I am muted. Yes. I said I don't know what Wuxia stories are. Sorry. You have to tell me. Also, I said we're gonna be doing some art because I wanna release a video. But I also wanna stream. And since I want to do both of these things, I decided what the heck? Why not just release a video on stream? Usually thumbnail making is like a boring Photoshop affair, but my thumbnails are a piece of art. So I might as well see the process of how it's done, right? Might as well see how my thumbnails are brought to life. And then we're gonna do segments or a game. I still have to think. Okay. So I'm gonna do a quick sketch. Which most of the time the quick sketch ends up being the final product with my thumbnails. I don't really engage in super much of in terms of polish. But the end results usually ends up pretty good, so hmm. So it's okay. Usually the end product is very serviceable for thumbnail. Kind of hard to explain. It's like a genre of fantasy. Then I'm not sure. What do you think of the thumbnail so far? I'm eating puree. The water did not penetrate the puree fully. I want to do more art on stream, but I'm not sure if people will even like that idea of me doing any art on stream. You know, I'm not sure if it'll have any sort of appeal. But hey, you now know how the typical Lucy Haze thumbnail gets created. Hmm. I actually think this is good enough, more or less, for the thumbnail. Art is hard. I do my best. You know? It's nice to see you on the streams again, Moho. You've been absent for a long time. Is it because you don't like politics being covered on stream? Is it because of the sort of shift of focus of my streams to be more covering like the Ukraine war? Or is it something unrelated to my streams altogether? Okay, so now we're in the coloring stage, which I want to have some sort of coloring frame of reference with the colors. Like doing other things like reading books people want me to read and homework. Oh, been busy. Well, you know, you're here now, which is the most important thing. I use more ketchup. I'm, you know. Bleh. Okay, let's color. Okay, I've been muted again. Okay, we're putting this here. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, who's calling me now? I'm sorry, I have to mute myself. So I think we're going to duplicate this. Mm-hmm. No, wait, actually we're going to do the classic maneuver. There we go. We're going to do this. Going to do this, 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 this. And now we're gonna add a caption. Ugh, illiteracy. Now we're going to add this. Done. We are done. What do you think of the thumbnail? Is it a nice thumbnail or is... Oh, we're gonna add some finishing touches. Wait, hold on. This is perfect. I think I want to add some finishing touches. Let's see if people are still interested in art. Nope. Nope. Art is boring. Oh, yeah, that I like the idea of doing this. To add some light into the eyes. The eyes become more alive once you do this. Oh, why does not want to do this? No, I don't think this works as well as I thought. Okay, done. Okay, done. Lucy, the negative Nancy. Pretty cool, huh? Corn. I got popcorn. And done. Now I can publish. Oh, apologies. I didn't mute the... Oh. Okay. That won't happen again. Okay. It's alright. Let's export it. No. Oh god. This. Okay. And now I can where is it? Lucy the Negative Nancy. There we go. And now I've just put it in the President Sunday orbiters thing. Oh. Must send it around other discords or something. Promote my work. Promote my video. Where else can I put it? Here? Mm, mm. Wow. Should I? Fine. Fine. I've been active or whatever. Hello, hello. I just finished a thumbnail. What do you think? A thumbnail for a new video. How do you like it? And now I'm spreading the new video all over the place to all different servers on Discord to get some views. I'm doing my best. How are you? I'm gonna be reacting to, I guess, Piers Morgan a lot today. So I guess that's gonna be... You like it? I do all of my thumbnails like this. You know, I add a hand-drawn thing, which is supposed to represent Lucy Hazet, which is me. Or as some call me, Lucy Hayes, the cyberpunk girl who gives the good. Lucy Hayes gives the good. Future drugs. I've missed so many Piers Morgan appearances. Hassan has been on Piers Morgan. Destiny has been on Piers Morgan. I might as well check it out, right? Might as well make it into a Piers Morgan stream or something. Piers Morgan stream. What do you think? Is this not a good idea? Oh yeah. My thumbnails are artistic. I may not have the biggest audience. I may not have the biggest subscriber count. But I've got the most artistic thumbnails in the space. Whatever space I'm part of. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure what space I'm part of. But whatever space I'm part of, I'm pretty sure my thumbnails are the most artistic of the space that I'm surely part of. Who's pretty funny? Hey, hold on. Who's pretty funny? Who? What? Oh, Piers Morgan. Oh my gosh. I've lost the plot. Or are you saying Hassan? Or Destiny? Which one? Piers Morgan, Hassan, or Destiny? Oh, okay, Piers Morgan. Is Destiny pretty funny? Should I get on Destiny's show and talk to him? Destiny's a train wreck? Let's see. gonna be a reaction stream. There we go. Destiny. Popcorn. I'm eating popcorn. Since we're gonna be reacting to things, I'm gonna get popcorn. I'm gonna get comfortable and I'm gonna get popcorn. Okay, let's go. How do you like my wacky hair? My wild, wild hair. Hmm? Let's make a full screen. My wild, wild haircut. It is. It's not that wild. It is a bit wild. Look. See? Blam. Blam. Kablamo. It goes up to the sky. The sky's the limit of my hair. Now let's see what's the destiny limit. Oh my gosh. How exciting. Destiny on Piers Morgan. Oh yeah. Hello, I'm Stephen Bonnell. I am married to Lucy. And we have a happy marriage. And I want to tell you about this, Mr. Piers Morgan. Mm-hmm. For sure. Uh-oh. Whoopsie daisy. Yeah, never mind. It's pretty funky. Haha, I knew it. I told you. I told you from the beginning. A funky hair for a funky stream. I always suspected. Okay. Let's get comfortable and let's watch. No? No? I am prepared. Hold on.
Joe Biden has lied multiple times, had to drop out of
presidential
campaigns because...
Liar Biden. Who is this guy? Looks so angry. Especially on this frame. Biden has lied so much. Lied non-stop. Unlike Trump, who has never lied in his life. Sure. If that's what we're going with, then sure.
Because he lied. Joe Biden has a very, very warped view of minorities.
Oh, wow. Unlike Trump, who has a totally great view on minorities. What did he say? Rapists and murderers about Mexicans? Yeah, sure. Trump has totally perfect view on minorities.
Joe Biden is the same guy that went and kicked Corn Pop out of the pool because he had too much pomade in his hair. Corn Pop was a young black man.
I believe Roseanne.
I have to say, let's...
Pool because he had...
The earphones blend in with his hair so much that it looks almost like, I don't know. Oh yeah, I have to. I'm putting on my armband, Ukraine armband. Boom. I always wear this. What? Hold on. Boom. See? Now I'm complete. Wearing this, I'm complete. Nice. Oh, you're from Mexico? Look. Nice. Almost looks like Destiny has a really specific haircut that makes his hair really round, but it's just earphones, the headphones that sort of blend in with his hair in a strange way, make it look like it's part of his hair for some reason. It's a style. You live in the United States. There are a lot of Mexican people living in the United States. My editor is Mexican living in the United States. Does he? I don't know. I'm not a big fan of touching on that, you know? If you're referring to his literal divorce, then I think it's, I don't know. It's his private thing. Even though it's quite public, I still think it's, maybe it's silly of me, but even though it's quite public, I think still that it's his private thing.
Had too much pomade in his hair. Corn Pop was a young black man.
I believe Roseanne. If she says it happened, it happened. Believe all women. An important component to a free society. And so, yeah, leave Roseanne alone. And I also thought it was quite funny.
Man, that's a big question. Everybody's like so reactionary in how they view things, and now you've got the Republican Party who's like, well,
True. I'm reactionary in how I view things. It's a big question. I don't know why it's just a teaser. Piers Morgan does trailers. Destiny style trailers. Streamer time.
well, you know, screw everything that the Democrats stand for. Like, we actually think Putin is based and strong, and America's weak, and they have too much LGBT stuff.
I mean, no offense to you.
Putin is based and strong, and America has too many LGBT stuff. Who is this guy to the right? Who are these people? This popcorn will kill me. He has a gun on his wall. Oh yeah. Wait, what is this gun? Is this a gun? I don't know what type of gun this is. I'm not American. So I don't know. I need help. It's for self-defense. It's for self-defense, this gun.
Pierce
I've never seen those other people before. Same.
personally on this at all, but I hate the idea of like royalty in politics. No one even like knows anything about half the people involved, but yet their word means something.
What? What does that mean? Royalty in politics. Wait, hold on. I have to listen to this again.
Like knows on this at all, but I hate the idea of like royalty in politics. No one even like knows anything about half the people involved, but
Why would I need to know anything about half the people? I don't care about the people. I mean, in politics. I care about their policy. I don't care about them as people. I mean, like in politics, you're not supposed to care about them as people. You're supposed to care about the policy that they want to enact, no? You're supposed to care about their politics. Hence politicians, no? Royalty and politics. What does that mean? Maybe you'll explain in the full thing. US elections. Should Biden pull out? Biden pull out? Was Biden's uncle eaten by cannibals? The Civil War movie, a reality if Trump wins. Tucker Carlson's influence on war. Jesus.
but yet their word means something.
Why are the richest counties in America, 8 of the top 10 richest counties in America, all in the circumference of Washington, D.C.? Why would all of these counties around D.C. be so bloody rich?
Jesus Christ! We're gonna get conspiracy, outright conspiracy here. Why would these places be so bloody rich? So bloody rich. Jam. Okay, it's gonna be a show. This is gonna be a show. I'm glad I've got my popcorn. Damn. Okay. You might be on a roll. Maybe we'll watch the Hassan one as well. That one was apparently as wild. Cough, cough, cough. Cough, 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 cough.
Donald Trump is on trial. He's the first former president in history to face court on criminal charges.
He looks tired. He looks so tired.
Trump is, of course, accused of falsifying business records to cover up hush money payments to his alleged mistress, the porn star Stormy Daniels.
Wow.
Whether he's guilty or not guilty, will it harm or hinder his bid to return to the White House? Could Trump actually benefit from being once again the undisputed star?
He could always rule from jail, from what I've heard. He could always be a president from jail, which is a thing in the US.
Star of cable news day in, day out. And was President Biden's uncle eaten by cannibals? A
What?
claim made by the President of the United States. We're returning by popular demand to debate this and more. 3 politically charged titans of YouTube, Destiny, Benny Johnson and Dave Smith. Well, welcome to my...
Titans of YouTube. I've never heard of these guys. I only heard of Destiny. Heard of these 3 guys. Maybe I'm just ignorant on the YouTube titans. They look both so happy with themselves, and he does not.
Probably my favourite political trio in world political discourse. So thank you guys for coming back. I want to start with a clip of Trump outside the courtroom. This is yesterday. It's a kind of random clip of stuff he's been saying pretty much every day. Let's take a look.
Payment, and they call it a legal expense, and you heard it today for the first time. This is what I got indicted over. This is what took me off and takes me off the campaign trail. The judge is conflicted, as you know. It's very unfair what's going on.
Oh.
And I should be allowed to campaign. And whoever heard of this, you got indicted for that? People in the court just said to me, I can't believe it. This is the case.
Now, Destiny, let me start with you. I've got cards on my table. I've written columns about this in the last week. I kind of agree with Trump about this. If they'd begun with any of the other 3 cases, I think there's a far more compelling argument that he should be held to account for them. But this seems such an obviously politically trumped-up attempt to stop Trump campaigning and to try and make a federal crime out of what is, at worst, a state misdemeanor. And
Good. Good. He should be stopped from campaigning. In fact, she should be forbidden from campaigning after January 6th. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my opinion that politicians that want to openly overthrow democracy maybe should not be allowed to run for president. But maybe it's me. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's just, my Polish weirdness sort of shining through, Who knows?
ultimately, it involves a possible one-night stand with a porn star between 2 consenting adults 18 years ago. None of this makes sense to me to drag in to a courtroom the first ever American president and humiliate him in this way. But I'm also not convinced, if I'm on the left...
That's pretty awkwardly phrased, the first ever American president. I don't think Trump is the first ever American president.
Why would you think this is anything but going to be beneficial to Trump? Whatever happens, either he walks, because one of the jury goes, like me, this is ridiculous, or he gets convicted, in which case a lot of middle America, I think, goes, what the hell? This is ridiculous. Bill Clinton paid off a woman $850,000 to settle a harassment case when he was president. He had sex with an intern in the Oval Office. He never got dragged into court. So whichever way this goes, I don't see how it does anything but help Trump. And I just feel like starting this criminal trial litany of cases with this one is a massive strategic error. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, when you say strategic error, the implication there is that politics should be a heavier consideration for the particular indictments that he's facing. I do agree that this is the...
Hang on. The prosecutor is a paid-up Democrat, right? So there is a political dimension before you even
Comey
start.
was a Republican, and that apparently didn't count for anything. So I don't know how important the parties are here. I mean, I agree that of the four cases, I agree that this is definitely the weaker of the four. But I mean, the idea that he's done so much other insane stuff that he shouldn't be held accountable for the less insane stuff he did, I don't know how that argument holds too much water for me. I do agree that the misdemeanor charge of it being like a bookkeeping charge is kind of like whatever. But the reason why it's upgraded to a felony is because the accusation is that this was done in the commission of another crime, which is the obfuscation or the hiding of basically campaign contributions, which I do think is a big deal. If somebody was donating $100,000 to a campaign effectively and somebody was trying to hide that, I think that if this was a case of like George Soros paying somebody to give favorable coverage or to kill a story for Joe Biden, I think that the Republicans may make a really big deal about it. So I think that the aspect that these were essentially campaign contributions and that they were done and lied about through fraudulent bookkeeping, I think does make it kind of a big deal. I think it's worth it to be litigated.
All right, Benny, I mean, my response to that would be, and I'll let you do the talking for yourself, obviously, but, you know, the catch and kill thing is a time-honoured tradition between tabloids and major figures, celebrities, politicians, and others. And often, as we know with Trump, with the National Enquirer already, from David Pecker's testimony, it's been used with them, between Pecker and Trump, to kill off untrue stories, including him supposedly fathering some child of a woman in an apartment block. So it's not always used to kill off true stories. It's just used to suppress damaging information. Trump, regardless of his run for president, was a massive star, one of the biggest stars in America.
What an interesting phrasing, to suppress damaging information. But keep in mind, damaging information can also be true. So should people be able to suppress true information if it's damaging? What interesting phrasing. Suppress damaging information.
America. You'd have people trying it on all the time like this. So to me, there's nothing particularly damning about the fact that he may have had a cozy relationship with a tabloid editor. It just so happened he then ran for president.
Yeah, you're right. This is just common practice. These are called nuisance lawsuits. Celebrities deal with them all the time, but I think we're missing the greater overall point.
Wow, interesting. The Benny Show. I want to look it up now. There's a Trump
here,
photo.
which is that the judge.
I want to see Benny Show. Let's see. Benny Show. Ooh. Benny Show. How big is Benny Show? Oh my God. The Benny Show is very big. Let's see his channel. Let's see what's happening here. Oh my God. It's finally happening. My butt's being wiped. The thumbnails speak for themselves. Oh my God. Biden confirms debate with Trump. Trump says, tonight at the courthouse. I'll be waiting, bitch. Joe Biden makes sign of the cross at pro-abortion speech. White House forces Biden handlers to hold his hand to prevent falling. TikTok stars mysteriously die within days of each other after same final post. Biden has brain aneurysm live on stage mid-speech as crowd cringes in total humiliation. What are these thumbnails? Like, this is just, what the hell? MSNBC in panic tries to cut feed as a reporter roasted live on air by Trump voter. Supreme Court ready to nuke all Trump criminal cases. Trump shocks New York City. Trump lawyer Alina. Yikes, Kamala's Secret Service agent has psychotic break. Lib activist has psychotic break. Trump lawyer warns. Taylor Swift has psychotic meltdown. I see. Tucker blows Joe Rogan's mind. Explains why aliens really are. What the fuck? Did he do anything on Ukraine ever? Nope. Doesn't look like it. Thank God. Thank God nothing on Ukraine. Where's hold on, where? Nope. Okay. We've seen enough. We've seen enough on Benny. Jeez Louise.
Cozy relationship with a tabloid editor. It just so happened he then ran for president.
Yeah, you're right. This is just common practice. These are called nuisance lawsuits. Celebrities deal with them all the time, but I think we're missing the greater overall point here.
What's
which
the
is
point?
that the judge here, Judge Merchan, is a Democrat activist. He helped fund Joe Biden's election campaign in New York, which went for Joe Biden. The jury pool being pulled from New York went for Joe Biden. I just looked it up. 85 points for Joe Biden. Joe Biden won New York with 85% of the vote.
Oh, no.
It's hard to find a more blue district with a more Democrat judge who donated to Joe Biden. He should recuse himself. His daughter does campaign fundraising for people who want to put Donald Trump in prison. She's raised hundreds of millions of dollars to put Trump in jail. Her social media avatar is a picture of Donald Trump in jail, a Photoshop. So my question to
we know that
Destiny,
story was fake, right? That was a
my
that was
question
a
to
fake story
Destiny
that
is this.
fell for.
My question to Destiny is
Uh-oh, fake stories. I mean, we've taken a look at the channel. I'm not surprised this person's pandering fake stories, so whatever.
Oh, so wait, hold on. So his daughter doesn't take campaign contributions to put Donald Trump in prison, yes or no?
That particular Twitter account
does
that
his
you
da-
referenced and
does
the
his
activity
daughter-
on it.
Does
Yeah,
his
I'm not
daughter?
going to answer a random question. I'm responding to what you just said was
No,
fake
it's
news.
not random.
Trump
This is-
fell for a fake
these are
story that pushed
facts.
by Laura Loomer. No, that's not a fact. Go look it up. You can Google it.
These are facts. So is the judge a Joe Biden donor?
I don't know, and I don't care if the judge is a Joe Biden donor.
Whoa,
But the Twitter
that's not-
account that you
you don't
referenced is
care?
not the Twitter account of
You
his.
don't care?
The Twitter account. I don't think
If
that somebody
a-
being supportive.
if
Hold
a-
on. Do you think
if
the
a-
standard?
okay,
do you
fine.
think the standard
Okay,
should be
fine.
that every single judge that's donated to any politician must recuse themselves in every single criminal trial relating to?
Hang on. Let me answer that.
What's
I
the
think
standard there?
This
One could make a case for a conflict of interest a bit. Sort of, kind of. That the judge has a clear bias. I mean, one could make that case. There's not a ridiculous thing to say that there might be some bias here. No. I will say that saying that there might be some bias here is not totally ridiculous. It is not an out-of-pocket thing. One moment. I'll be right back. I have to take my HRT, and some of the HRT requires me to do things that I cannot do on stream. So I'll be right back. I'm back. I took my HRT. My HRT now includes taking a pill, estrogen pill, blocker, testosterone blocker, and rubbing gel into parts of my body.
Destiny, you've actually hit on the real problem with this. This is why I don't think any American president should ever go through a prosecution of this kind. Because the answer obviously is, yes, of course this judge is not impartial. Of course he's going to have a view against Trump. Of course it will affect all his...
There's going to be, like, the better term is that there's at least a chance of a bias, right? Of a biased ruling, which I guess it's true. I guess in this case there is a chance for a biased ruling. I'm not going to disagree with that. Oh, cool. I take my 4 mg of estrogen and the blockers too. Yeah. My doctor also prescribed me gel in addition. And I also, once per week, take half a pill of this. I haven't opened it yet. This kills testosterone production. So my HRT right now is estrogen, blocker, estrogen and gel, and 1/2 a pill of this per week. Dostinex.
decision making. He's a paid up Democrat. So that's the problem. Let me come to Dave Smith here. Dave,
Sure.
you know, you're neither left nor right. You kind of sit in the middle as a
I'm
voice
sorry,
of,
who?
I don't know. Nor right. You Dave Smith here. Dave,
Sure.
you know, you're neither left nor right. You
Not left, not right, just forward, huh? Sure.
sit in the middle as a voice of, I don't
Reason.
know, common normality, perhaps. Let's call it that.
Common
Not to
normality.
denigrate my two other fine guests, but
Whatever that
on
means.
this, I just find I'm really struggling.
Common normality, whatever that means. Or I should ask about that. About what? It wasn't just given to me. It was given to me based on my specific blood test results. You know? Because something was too high for me. Because apparently my body is trying to fight against the HRT, and my body is trying to produce testosterone in response to the HRT. So in response to the response of my body, the doctor has prescribed extra medicine that will sort of, boom, slap my body on the hand and kill the testosterone production. You know?
With both the reality of prosecuting a president for such a trivial matter on what I think are jumped up or trucked up charges, driven for political reasons, but also just really bad strategy by the political people driving this, thinking this is going to help them. Trump has been sitting in that courtroom like a martyr day in, day out. He then comes out, he goes up to Harlem to the scene of a particularly ugly crime where a shopkeeper got framed for murder, then got acquitted and so on. He then comes out and he's greeted by crowds chanting 4 more years. He's turning it into a running campaign thing, but he's also getting all the oxygen of publicity on television. It's all wall-to-wall Trump. I was in New York last week. It's all anyone's talking about. None of that can be anything, I don't think, given that Trump has proven before his celebrity power can propel him to the White House. None of this seems to me good politics. Never mind the fact the law itself appears to be being misused here.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I completely agree with you on that. So almost if we're separating these two things in terms of like the political strategic aspect to it, I think there's no question that it
I don't think Trump should be allowed to run in the first place, considering all things considered, okay? The fact that Trump is even allowed to run. What a weird predicament. What a weird world we live in, where people like Trump are just allowed to Run for president, huh?
Has backfired so far. If we're talking about the political strategy, you also have to kind of zoom out and look at the optics of the fact that the entire corporate media and
Look at the international optics of the fact that the person like Trump can just run. Look at the international optics. Oh, Barry! Thank you. Thank you for the $5. I have to go eat, but I'll be back. Thank you. Thank you for the $5. Thank you, thank you.
the entire Democratic Party told us for years that this guy had committed treason, was involved in a
Yeah. Because he has, objectively. Yeah. Talking about Trump here, right? Then yeah, he has. He has.
conspiracy with the Russians. He led an insurrection.
Not a conspiracy with the Russians. The Russians simply aided him. But yeah.
And he attempted to overthrow democracy, and yet when we come down
He
to
did. Yeah. So just based on these things, he should not be able to run to begin with. Yeah, I agree. Well said, Mr. Centrist.
the trial, it's about falsifying business records, about hush money to a porn star. So if you're just talking about like the optics and the strategy there, I think it looks pathetic, which it is. But in terms of the argument that you guys were just talking on, like, there's a very interesting question about whether someone like Donald Trump can get a fair trial in the United States of America. And it's not, I don't think, as simple as Destiny saying like, oh, if you had ever contributed to the Democratic Party, then could you never be the judge against a Republican? There's something kind of unique about Donald Trump where he has been elevated in the minds of Democrats to such a unique evil that they will openly tell you, we have lost our democracy if he is reelected.
That's not true. He's not been elevated to any sort of unique evil in the eyes and minds of Democrats. We're just going by what Trump himself says. Right? We just all go by what Trump says, by what Trump announces he will do. He's not being uniquely demonized. First of all, there's a very real cult of personality surrounding Trump, which is undeniable. Second of all, people are just going by his words and actions. Nobody's making anything up. Sorry.
Literally Hitler.
I don't think there's anything unique about how Trump is being viewed. He's simply being judged for his words and actions. That's it.
Has been said thousands of times. If he is that bad, how could anyone who has that mind state not be doing just whatever they can to try to ruin the guy? And it does make you question whether it's possible that in that environment, he could ever get a fair trial.
Right. And there's another side to this, which is Joe Biden, right? So you would think that the Democrat nominee for president would be absolutely milking this in a masterful way to propel himself to stay in the White House. But this is what Biden said yesterday.
In a sense, I don't know why we're surprised by Trump. How many times does he have to prove we can't be trusted?
Now, he meant to say, how many times can he prove he can't be trusted? But Destiny, once again, he's incapable of finishing a sentence that makes any coherent sense. And this is the major fault line for the Democrats' chances of winning the election, is whatever happens to Trump, we know that Biden's popularity is at an all-time low. We know that most Democrats, 2/3 of Democrats, nearly 3/4 of Democrats, don't think he should be running again because of his age.
Sorry. Biden's still better than Trump, no matter what. Like, he tried to block aid to Ukraine. He did block aid to Ukraine for a long time. Nobody cares that Biden is not able to finish a sentence. I don't care. Apologies. I'm gonna. Okay. Listen. Nobody cares that Biden cannot finish a sentence. Do you know why? Because Trump does finish sentences. Trump finishes sentences such as if NATO members do not pay enough, then Russia can do whatever the hell it wants with those members, right? I'm sorry, I'd rather have a person that cannot finish a sentence than a person that can finish a sentence, but those sentences are so horrible that they ruin the US reputation abroad. You know? Which one would you rather? I think I'd go with Biden, sorry. Rather than Trump and his sentences that he unfortunately finishes.
And clear cognitive acuity issues. But when you see a clip like that, and they come every day with Biden.
Also, I don't know. I don't care. I just don't care. There's no real evidence apart from him stumbling with his words that he actually has any mental capacity issues. There's no evidence apart from him stumbling with his words. That's it. But there's real, actual evidence that Trump wants to do away with democracy and many other wild things. That he wants to screw Ukraine over via his ending the war in 24 hours. Like when it comes to Trump, you have a lot more tangible stuff to attack him on than just fumbles when it comes to saying sentences. This is just so flimsy and weak. If this is all that people can attack Biden on, then that's pretty weak. I'm sorry. They don't attack him on policy. They don't attack him on his actions. No, they attack him on that he stumbles on words in speeches. Wow. That disqualifies him. That's totally. Totally.
Do you not think that it would be smart of the Democrats to somehow persuade Joe Biden to step aside and get a younger, more dynamic person who might have a better ability to capitalize on what's happening with Trump?
I don't know what the backfired thing is coming from. I don't know if it's just like because we see a lot of crazy tweets on Twitter or X or because of certain talking heads or pundits or whatever, but Biden's popularity on the recent polling has continued to rise. It is slowly rising. I think, like I said for months now, I don't think there's anything good that happens for Trump from here to the election. And as long as the economy can recover, as long as inflation is under control, I think it only gets better for Biden from here on out. I don't think a lot of people are seeing Trump in the courtroom or his crazy antics on Truth Social and think like, wow, this guy is such a martyr for the cause. All of the sycophantic fanatics that follow Trump are still following Trump, and the people that really like him still really like him. But all those people that are kind of like more moderate or kind of not the most extreme Trump fanatics are slowly starting to drop off. I think Biden's popularity is continuing to rise, and I don't know why you would throw away an incumbent who's already beaten Trump before and try to run a totally new, untested candidate when you have no idea what the opposition research or anything like that is.
True. Like, if they just got a new candidate, Trump would win. Destiny is correct here. Wow. I'm really... I guess here I'm just gonna be really on the side of my hubby bubby, won't I? My hubby bubby is gonna be... Ooh, boom. True.
Going to be on him. I agree that Biden definitely has problems, but I mean, Trump has so many problems, and he's already lost.
Trump has more. Trump has more problems, objectively, that have to do more than when just not being able to finish a sentence in a public speech. Let's get real. Let's get real here, huh?
Biden. Why would you run anybody else?
Benny, I mean, there's some good points there. You know, Biden has beaten Trump before. This is his argument, apparently, for continuing to stay in this race. And the economy is beginning to perk up in America, indisputably. And the polls are closing, indisputably. Why shouldn't Biden run? Why wouldn't he have a good chance of beating Trump?
True.
Yeah, because he's a tyrant who has no base of support. I went to that event yesterday. I was physically there.
I'm sorry, what? Biden's a tyrant?
Yeah, because he's a tyrant who has
He's a tyrant. Biden's a tyrant. Jesus, Biden's such a tyrant.
no base of support. I went to that event yesterday. I was physically there. It was in Tampa. So actually, I went to the community. We spent the entire day there in Tampa at the community college hunting for a Joe Biden supporter to try and find a single Joe Biden supporter since Joe Biden was physically there speaking. Not sure he was totally awake.
I want to hear why Biden's a tyrant.
But he was there, right? A physical man was there. Couldn't find
Physical man, as opposed to what? A ghost?
a Joe Biden supporter. We found thousands of protesters from the Democrat leftists protesting Joe Biden, saying he should be locked up for human rights abuses, calling him Genocide Joe. We went and interviewed a bunch of them. We couldn't find anyone. We talked to the students. Nobody even knew Joe Biden was there. The students were like unaware that the resident of the United States was physically there. There was more energy and enthusiasm at your local nursing home during activity hour where there's extra cinnamon for the
Biden's a tyrant. Can you elaborate on that? I want to hear about
applesauce
that.
than there was for Joe Biden yesterday at an actual presidential event. And this was in Florida. And I think it's a lot has
Florida. That explains a lot. Florida.
a lot of chutzpah to go to Florida and think you can flip this state. This state went for Trump twice. But I guess this is my question to Destiny. Is this state in Florida is a place where the Biden family had a lot of business, a lot of corrupt business in this state. The DOJ, the FBI looked into the Biden business practices in this state. They've had to pay big penalties. Would you be in favor of a district in this state that voted for Donald Trump, 85 points for Donald Trump, and a judge that donated to Donald Trump and whose kids are in the business of locking up Joe Biden? Would you be in favor of Joe Biden being brought to trial for bookkeeping in a county like that? You would be okay with it? Because you just said this doesn't matter. So you'd be all right with that scenario.
Unless the judge themselves have made specific comments about the candidate themselves that somebody can show me and you can see a clear bias, then no, I wouldn't have a judge recuse themselves there. The idea that we cannot trust our state, district, our federal judges to do the jobs that we entrust them to do, that we think that they can't give an impartial trial to somebody because they were an ex-president, well, then why should we have any faith in our justice system delivering fair trials to anybody at all? What about a black person? What about a woman? What about a trans person? What if they know you're a registered Republican? What if they know that you voted for Trump? What about why should we do that? You can see a clear specific comment
right with that scenario.
Okay.
Unless the judge themselves have made specific comments about the candidate themselves that somebody can show me and you can see a clear bias, then no, I wouldn't have a judge recuse themselves there. The idea that we cannot trust our state, district, our federal judges to do the jobs that we entrust them to do, that we think that they can't give an impartial trial to somebody because they were an ex-president.
I mean, openly supporting the other candidate could be it could be potentially thought of as bias against this candidate, no? The fact that he helped finance Biden could be seen as a clear bias against Trump. It could be.
well, then why should we have any faith in our justice system delivering fair trials to anybody at all? What about a black person? What about a woman? What about a trans person? What if they know you're a registered Republican? What if they know that you voted for Trump? What if they know that you supported Bernie Sanders? Like, no, we should be able to entrust that our justice system will deliver fair results going through the processes that they go through. If somebody's made a particular comment about Trump or Biden, I would hope they would recuse themselves in that case. But if they haven't and they just tend to support a particular political party, then we would hope that their allegiance to upholding justice in the United States is true. And also this idea that you can walk on a college campus and figure out who's going to win the presidency. If that was true, then the last election would have been Bernie Sanders versus Andrew Yang. Since when do we go to college campuses to determine the overall popularity of a presidential candidate?
Okay, Dave, I mean, I knew in 2016 Trump was going to win because I was down in Middle America a lot doing crime documentaries in Florida, Texas, Alabama. I could feel tremendous heat.
It's wild anyone would say that after everything we've seen out of the Supreme Court. I mean, that is true. That is true. Biases do exist, unfortunately.
For Trump and
the Supreme Court is a little bit of a special case. This thing looks so out of place here. Well, unfortunately, sentient rat. Unfortunately, Destiny is the biggest person that I can root for here. It's unfortunate, but I will be probably rooting for my husband today against this guy who's just a Trumper and this guy who's a centrist, but actually also a Trumper. Sorry. What can I say? What can I say except you're welcome?
Loathing for Hillary Clinton. So I was telling everyone Trump's going to win, and he won. This time, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't think anybody does. We are into completely uncharted territory. But for the Democrats, is it smart politics to stick with Biden, given the age issue, which is not really about his age. It's about his ability at his age to do the job. Is it sensible of them to let him continue as the nominee, or should...
What about Trump? They're not so far apart in age. What the hell? They're not even all that far apart from in age.
As two Democrat incumbent presidents have done since World War II before, which is pull out. And
like literally, this is all they've got. Oh, he's old. Oh, he stumbles on his words. Meanwhile, Trump has horrible plans. January 6th, etc. He tries to screw over Ukraine. But all that doesn't matter. At least he does not stumble on his words, huh? Well, he does, but nobody cares about that. And he's not that much younger than Biden.
And let somebody younger take over.
Well, I think he should pull out. I think if anybody was around him.
If that argument could be made against Biden, the same argument should be made against Trump.
Who loved him, they should try to convince him to pull out. It's elder.
Well, okay. Convince Trump to pull out as well. Pull both of them out.
Abuse, what's being done to him. It feels like we're living through the emperor's new clothes when people pretend they don't see the issue with Joe Biden every time he speaks.
The same could be said about Trump even more.
I think the logistics of how they would get him out when he's determined to run again and who they would replace him with are challenging. But Destiny made the point that Joe Biden has beat Donald Trump already once, and that's true. However, it was a very special year. There was COVID, so he had this excuse to not actually campaign.
Right.
And it could be seen as being the reasonable, like the safe choice, or he's following the experts or whatever.
Or whatever. Of course, the centrists and this guy are going to be COVID deniers or whatever. Of course. Damn.
Differences now, and the biggest two, according to all the polling, it's immigration and the economy. The inflation, which I will say, by the way, Joe Biden, look, a lot of the inflation was caused by how much money was printed in 2020, and then that was felt on Joe Biden's watch. But, he was still president at the time, and people tend to blame the guy who's in charge for that. And the immigration thing is just, it's a killer for him. I mean, after years of being so critical of Donald Trump, for all of the Democrats were for his immigration
I'm
restrictions.
going to be honest. I'm not happy how immigrants are treated all around the world. I'm not happy about the immigrant fear mongering. I'm not happy about how immigrants are treated as basically non-entities, not people, but some sort of, I don't know, alien invaders, basically, which invaders is a word that is often invoked when speaking about immigration, especially illegal. So I'm not even all that far off. Speaking how immigrants are super invaders that just want to, I don't know, destroy the country. Like, of course.
Views, to then see the disaster of this de facto
centrist.
open border is very bad for them. And this is why you've seen a huge shift in
Like, people don't really have any coherent opinion or policy when it comes to immigration. Then they just say, open border, immigrants bad, invasion, they're gonna kill us all. It's just pure fear mongering without any basis. Like, that's the reality of it. It's just pure fear mongering. Oh yeah, and they're all gonna come and just live on social welfare, social services, and just drain the economy. We're gonna bankrupt the country.
many key demographics.
We should reverse how citizens and immigrants are treated. It would be funny. They're also seen as hostiles. Well, yeah, invaders. Invaders are usually hostile.
Toward Donald Trump that Joe Biden cleaned up with in 2020. You've seen huge gains for Donald Trump amongst minorities, amongst young people, and so this is a whole different race. We're not running back 2020.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to play you, Benny, a clip because I just think it'll make you laugh.
Immigration is always the sort of the right wing's go-to campaign slogan. It was the same in Poland. Poland also. The Law and Justice Party tried to go with immigration as well, fear-mongering. Because fear-mongering about trans people for some reason did not really catch on. The Law and Justice tried joking about trans people in various sort of speeches on the campaign trail. Oh, Nancy's gonna be Steven in 5 minutes. Ha ha ha. But it didn't really... it didn't really track, so they switched to fear-mongering against immigration. And how Poland is the Law and Justice Party is the only party that defends you from being killed by immigrants. What open border exactly? Where are those open borders? Apparently the southern border in the US. But what actually people mean when they say open border is too many immigrants are able to go through the border. That is what is sort of being said in reality. In reality, they just mean, oh, too many people are being to get through the border, which basically means it's open. Too many people are passing through of those monstrous invaders that want to drain the economy and murder everybody.
Know what it is, and it made me laugh. Although it's a kind of, again, a serious
The immigration thing is just a horrible, horrible topic that is used all around, usually by right-wing parties, to fearmonger among society and gain easy votes. It's easy votes. Oh, if those people come here, they're just gonna drain the system. Do you want that? Do you want the budget to be so strained that there's not going to be enough money for you? Do you want that? No? We're the only ones that are going to defend you from that. Vote for us. There you go. Easy vote. Oh, you see the crime rate? Do you see those crimes that were committed recently? Those were done by immigrants. Those were done by refugees. If we get elected, we're going to protect you from that. There you go. Easy votes. It's so easy to fearmonger against the people from the outside. why it's just gained so much traction all the time. It is why it's so universally used by right-wing parties to gain votes. Even supposedly moderate people that would say, I don't really like Trump, will say, oh, I'm against this guy, but I might vote for him because he's gonna protect me. They're gonna protect me because the border situation is just getting so bad. So many new people are coming into the country. And people say that without understanding really why it's bad, what does it affect, why it even... The regular argument to sort of bolster this narrative that immigrants are bad, which is basically... Yeah, they do it too. Which is basically when the immigrants are not white, like the common argument is, oh, those people are just incompatible culturally, so they're gonna bring in chaos because they're so incompatible culture-wise that they're gonna bring in their wild rituals and wild customs, and they're gonna disrupt the country. They're gonna bring in crime because that crime is in their culture. The treatment of these groups is in their culture, so we're just gonna bring all of that. Do you want that? Do you want our culture to be tainted and race replaced, like that's sort of implied? It's just it's a common tactic.
Point to it. This is Joe Biden claiming his uncle had been eaten by cannibals.
And my uncle, they called him Ambrose Brosey, they called him Bosey, my Uncle Bosey. And he became an Army Air Corps before the Air Force came along. He flew those single-engine planes. And he got shot down in New Guinea. And they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea.
Now, there were two problems with this, Benny. The Pentagon dug into this, and it was confirmed that the plane was not shot down. It actually had technical failure, which led to it crashing into the ocean, which is almost certainly where Uncle Bosey died. But there's certainly zero evidence he was ever eaten by any cannibals. And in fact, the leaders of Papua New Guinea now have been outraged by this categorization of their people as a bunch of cannibals.
Yes, that's exactly right. So two things that trend perfectly for Joe Biden here that has followed him.
Oh, yeah. Biden saying something silly on air is definitely much worse than Trump saying that Ukraine should not be getting aid and that you would end the conflict in 24 hours by just giving territory to Russia. I'm sorry, that's no contest here. I'd rather have a president that says silly things and stumbles upon his words and does generally better things than a president that just wants to do away with democracy altogether. And you could say, well, yeah, but Biden's horrible on Israel-Palestine. Well, if you think that Trump would be better on Palestine, Israel, then I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to break it to you.
Effectively, his entire career, and he's built his career off of. One, lying. Joe Biden has lied multiple times, had to drop out of presidential campaigns because he lied. And two, Joe Biden has a very, very dark and very warped view of minorities. Joe Biden obviously wrote the 1990s crime bill that disproportionately locked up hundreds of thousands of young black men for having a scintilla of...
And Trump does not have a warped view of minorities? Let's build the wall not to let in rapists and murderers? Sure. Let's eliminate transness. Let's forbid all sort of gender-affirming care. Yeah, Trump definitely does not have a warped view of minorities. Definitely not.
Crack cocaine.
Let's ban people from Muslim countries. Okay.
On their persons, whereby his own son had mountains of crack cocaine on him and has yet to face any type of prosecution for
And
that.
a giant cock. Let's not forget about his giant cock.
I'm very interested in hearing Destiny's take on this. But Joe Biden has always tracked along these lines. Joe Biden is the same guy that, according to his own stories, went and kicked Corn Pop.
Not gonna forget about Hunter Biden's huge cock. Also, by the way, both presidents outraged in this way. Other countries remarking something stupid on culture. Of course! The difference between Biden and Trump is that Trump tried to turn his stupid remarks into policy. For example, once again, I will remind about wanting to ban people from Muslim countries. Okay? Trump actually moved towards changing his stupid remarks into policy. We should never sort of forget about that.
Out of the pool because he had too much pomade in his hair and was willing to fight Corn Pop with a rusty razor blade and a chain. Corn Pop was a young black man. Joe Biden is a racist. He says you cannot vote, you cannot be black if you vote for Donald Trump. And it's this type of conversation and these types of policies that are leading to, as Dave just alluded to, the largest support.
Trump supporters, speaking of racism. That is rich.
For
That
any
is rich.
Republican in my lifetime among minority communities. That is a fact.
Okay, Destiny, I mean, the trouble with the cannibals thing is that so much of what Biden says from his memory turns out to be completely untrue. I'm not suggesting he deliberately lies. He just constantly seems to forget key parts of his life. And then they don't even apologize. I mean, the White House press secretary was given the chance to apologize by Fox News, by Peter Doocy, and refused to do so. Would it not
Welcome back, Addis.
be right for the White House to just, when they get things wrong like this, just to say we're sorry? The president spoke wrong.
He said the plane crashed in the water. Okay, who says cannibals can't swim? All right, we don't know that. Listen, I understand the spectacle.
Little bit of a stretch,
accepting-
Destiny.
But hey, maybe. Listen, I don't know what they're like down there. Okay, listen, I've never been to New Guinea before. Okay, listen, there's always the gaffes and there's everything that's fun to talk about. But it says something that every time Trump makes a gaffe, I hear this repeated over and over again. We are not supposed to take Trump literally. We're supposed to take him seriously. When Trump says there's an invisible plane,
Yeah, how he treated Mexicans. I mean, he just called them rapists and murderers, so I don't know. It seems to me like it's between these two candidates. I still think it's better to vote for Biden. Sorry. I will vote for Biden, even though I cannot vote in the US. Biden's my president.
actually mean that. When Trump was like on stage, pondering about the injection of disinfectant into your lungs, well, he wasn't serious. Well, when Trump talks about cyber, he's just like speaking metaphorically. I don't know, man. At the end of the day, like Biden is a gaffe machine. George W. Bush was a gaffe machine, and he couldn't even blame senility on that. I agree that his speaking stuff is a problem. I definitely think that his memory has issues, but I'm more concerned with Trump, like on TV, telling the DOJ that they should be jailing political opponents. I'm more concerned with the fact that Trump, who's not even in office, we were just talking about immigration, which is a real issue. Trump is literally communicating to people in the House, like, hey, don't vote on immigration bills. I want to keep the border open so that when I run for president, I can point to that problem.
He blocked the bill that had solutions on the border thing. He blocked it because he wanted to run his election on it. Good point. Good point, Habibabi. That's why I married you. There you go.
Problem existing. The fact that Republicans were unwilling to actually come together and work on what was an amazing border reform bill, something that would have increased the amount of asylum judges, something that would have decreased the amount of people that could just come to the border and claim asylum. Like these things would have been amazing.
I will add more. Something that would have added, something that would have allowed the installation of equipment that is designed to passively screen for fentanyl through passing cars. It's okay. Who doesn't crack some racist jokes from time to time? Who's not guilty of that? So that equipment could not be installed. The equipment that just screens for fentanyl with cars just passing by, because the bill was blocked by Republicans. So don't let anyone fool you into believing that Republicans care about the border and fentanyl, which is the actual problem. Like people coming to the US to build a better life, aka immigration, that's not a problem. The real problem is like the fentanyl, the drug that kills people, you know? And these problems, these things are being lumped together under the umbrella of border, you know? And it's an issue. And it's an issue.
Amazing, you know. Dave Smith talks about a de facto open borders policy. The de facto open borders policy is not de facto, it's de jure. It's by letter of the law. If somebody comes to the U.S. and they say, hey, I'm claiming asylum, well, you're kind of, you know, SOL. You're okay, well, I guess we've got to put you in the U.S. now and we have to process you because that's the policy on the books. And Republicans were the ones that stood in the way of actually changing that policy in the House because they didn't want to lose their one issue that they could hopefully artificially continue to I guess make this country look bad for their upcoming election, which I think is unpatriotic and I think is damaging to the United States. And I wish the Republicans were held to account more for that type of self-destructive behavior.
True.
Dave Smith, I want to get your response to the Kennedy family endorsing Biden. First of all, I want to play a clip from Roseanne Barr, a quite extraordinary clip she's posted of her claiming to have been attacked by President Biden. Let's take a look.
It's a big topic.
26 years ago, Joe Biden raped me right here in that dressing room in the shoe department where I went in and changed my shoe. In the shoe department at Bergdorf Goodman.
Are you okay?
No, I'm not. I need to sue. I need to sue.
Now, she was obviously mocking the settlement that E. Jean Carroll recently got. Very, very heavy, I think $70-odd million settlement against Trump for alleging exactly that Donald Trump had done exactly what Roseanne is mimicking there. When she got blowback from people online, Roseanne wrote back on X, I would never insult a sexual assault victim. I was talking about...
I mean, it is a good point. It is a good point to say that Republicans blocked legislation on the border themselves because they wanted to gain an advantage for Trump for the election. Yeah, it is a good point.
E. Jean Carroll. So doubling down, possibly in a way that is defamatory to E. Jean Carroll in the way that she has sued Trump. What do you think of that? Are we crossing lines or have we lost an ability to laugh? In other words, Roseanne is a comedian. She should be allowed to do this and we all just accept it as a bit of fun, or is it more serious?
No, I believe Roseanne. If she says it happened, it happened. Believe all women.
Well, that's the point she's making.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a comedian using humor to make a point, and yes, I think absolutely that's I think it's an important component to a free society, and so yeah, leave Roseanne alone. And I also thought it was quite funny.
It made me laugh. I mean, maybe it shouldn't have done, but it did. On the Kennedys, let's watch the clip of Kerry Kennedy endorsing Biden.
Well, there aren't any great people speaking here, but I don't know. I'd say that there should be the processes of sort of, what's the term? The processes of processing asylum seekers should be faster. Asylum seekers should not be forced to basically rot in temporary facilities awaiting some sort of a decision, you know? Their case should be looked into immediately and a decision should be made also immediately, you know? It should be a very fast and, like, efficient process. But it is bad that the Democrats were willing to give the Republicans everything they wanted and then some, and then it got blocked. It shows that Democrats are more right wing right now. No, not necessarily. We have to look at why the Democrats were willing to give the Republicans everything they wanted. The reason why the Democrats were willing to give Republicans everything they wanted is because the border thing was directly tied to Ukraine aid. They wanted to pass the Ukraine aid, no matter what. So they, in turn, wanted to give Republicans what they wanted on the border, which was bad. But to me, more than showing that the Democrats are right-wing, shows that the Democrats were desperate. We're desperate to get that aid passed. That is my opinion, at least. It looked more like desperation than any indication of a right-wing turn of the Democrats. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not endorsing Destiny. I'm saying what my opinion is. I'm chiming in. I'm chiming in as an independent commenter on this whole thing. The problem with these things is that people are stuck in a limbo. People are stuck in facilities that are basically like prisons. In fact, when I was brought into a Border Patrol facility by a Border Patrol personnel, when we were driving by a immigrant facility / refugee facility, the guy just told me outright, oh yeah, this place is basically like jail. This place is like jail in all but name. Yeah. Basically the conditions here are like in prison. I was like, okay. That's okay. And it's probably the same, Border Patrol in Poland. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same in the US.
My siblings and representing my first cousins, all of whom, with the exception of two, all who are legally able are supporting Joe Biden for re-election. And we cannot stand aside when we're up against a man who says he wants to be a dictator. We need to stop Trump, and we need to elect Joe Biden.
Now, it's interesting. When I watched her with the other members of the family, and I compared them to RFK, who I think has been a really impressive candidate in his own way, I'm not sure this is particularly good for Biden. I mean, there's the Kennedy magic, sure, but actually the most impressive Kennedy out there is RFK. And it all looks like in the latest polling that his run could be more beneficial to Trump than Biden, I think I'm right in saying. So what do you make of this?
Yeah, you'd think that the relatives and children of Ted Kennedy would know a car wreck when they see one and not endorse Joe Biden. But, hey, it's crazy times.
A Trumper is talking. He has like almost 2 million subscribers on YouTube. Crazy. Crazy.
But what's crazier is connecting the John F. Kennedy or RFK legacies to Joe Biden. They have absolutely no similarities whatsoever. JFK was anti-interventionist. JFK wanted to end the Vietnam War, not accelerate wars around the globe. JFK wanted to have major oversight.
Of course. I know what the... Oh, God, of course. Of course a Trumpist is going to use such language. Why am I not even surprised? Non-interventionist politics is when you just abandon all of your allies and then ignore all of your sort of promises and responsibilities. That is non-interventionist policy, according to this guy.
Over the deep state and over run amok and run wild intelligence agencies. JFK wanted a crackdown on the crimes that were actually occurring here. He was a law and order candidate, and he wanted lower taxes. And so there is literally zero connection to the legacy of JFK to Joe Biden. So the Kennedy family is desecrating that memory.
Dave Smith, I mean, does it help Biden
so
really
stupid.
to have a bunch of slightly doddery Kennedys all standing around, some of them looking like they didn't know what they were doing there, when RFK Jr. is, like I say, a pretty impressive operator who's clearly resonating with a lot.
RFK Jr. is a joke. I'm sorry. I've seen some of his opinions, especially on Ukraine. It's a joke candidate. If he's popular in the US in the slightest, we're in deep trouble. If that's a strong operator, then we are in deep trouble. I'm just gonna say that. Oh no, things are not good. If that is a person that is described as a... Wow. That's okay. Wow.
Of Americans.
I don't think it helps Biden at all. And I mean, no offense to you, Pierce, personally on this at all, but I hate the idea of like royalty in politics and that there's like, you know, there's this no one even like knows anything about half the people involved, but yet their word means something. And I'll just say, I mean, look, my first thought about it, and I've been very critical of RFK lately over his position on the war in Gaza.
RFK Jr., that just really like... Hearing him just repeat mindlessly all the conspiracy theories about Ukraine, an amazing operator for sure.
But as somebody who like knows the guy, it's just, I find it wrong to come out like this against your own family. I mean, like, I understand if you don't want to support him because you don't agree with him on the issues, but I just could never imagine, like, if my brother or my sister or something like that were running for something, publicly coming out trying to campaign against them. And I think at least that's the way it rubs me. Like, I'm a family guy before any other political opinion that I have. And it just kind of it makes them all feel snaky to me.
Let me ask you, Destiny, about something else. This is a big new film in America right now. Is this Civil War movie. Let's take a little look at the trailer.
It's American, 100%. That's what I'm talking about.
Cool.
What the hell is this?
We're going to D.C.
Are you serious? The United States are vaporized. They shoot us on sight in the Capitol.
I've never been scared like that before.
Jesus.
And I've never felt more alive.
This has got a big debate going, Destiny, about whether there could be an actual civil war, particularly if Donald Trump was to win back the White House, with how divisive he is and so on. It obviously paints a pretty dystopian picture. People have compared it to the secessionist movements in Texas.
This movie looks so stupid.
But is it a worry of yours that things are so toxic and tribal now in American politics that if Trump was to get re-elected,
horrible.
You could start to see
horrible
eruptions of civil war?
I mean, I feel like you could ask the question either way. In some ways, it might be more scary if Trump loses.
I don't know. I've kept hearing about a civil war in the US for years now. Civil war, civil war, civil war, civil war. Usually from the stupidest people on the right. The silliest people on the right. I don't know. I could just keep hearing from people on the right. Civil war imminent. Civil war imminent. Gonna have a civil war. Gonna have civilly fight.
Loses again, because we saw what happened last time when Trump
Right.
lost the election. The way that I view it, and I don't know, I don't know the beginning, the origination of every single revolt in history. My idea for the United States is that as mad as people could be, as long as like the basics are continuing to run, people have got food, people have got shelter, people have got electricity. I find it hard to believe that people will actually be revolting. Like there will be open revolt in the streets. So I'm hoping that Well, actually, no, I'll make that strong prediction because if I'm wrong, nobody's going to be holding me to account for it because society will have descended into chaos anyway. So, yeah, I would hope that as long as the basics of society function, I don't think we'll head down that civil war route. But we definitely have a problem with turning the temperature up on every single political disagreement in this country right now.
Yeah, I mean, Benny, it does seem that way. And we've got the same issue in the UK. You know, people just get into their tribes fueled by social media. They shout ever louder. They get angrier and angrier. And you get a sense, which may not be the reality. Maybe most people are not wandering around steaming with rage about stuff. But certainly, I think also exacerbated by the pandemic, which I think sent a lot of people nuts and a lot more people online than were online before. There is a lot of anger in the air. Now, whether it's real
People
or whether
are mad.
it's slightly misleading because of social media and the noise it generates. But do you worry when you see this movie getting traction? Do you worry that it may reflect a wider reality about what may
This
happen?
movie actually really gaining traction, quote unquote. Is that really happening? Is that really a thing that is happening? This movie gaining traction? Is that a thing?
Happen in America?
So, two things here. One, I can't believe in every single show I find agreement with Destiny, but I do here. I like a less politicized America. And I know that may actually be bad for my career, but it was good for the country, the fabric of the country.
What does that
I grew up
even
in the
mean?
90s. I'm 37 years old. Born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s. And I remember a time when you could just, presumably go watch a sporting event without the athletes disgracing the flag, without your beer companies going woke, without your friends deciding that they can't sit next to you because you're
Going woke, huh? Politicized America. That's such a stupid state. That is such a statement. I'm not gonna say stupid. I'm gonna say, ignorant. Okay. It's such an ignorant statement. The U.S. has always been politicized. The only difference is, let's go with the beer thing. Let's go with the beer example. Like, beer didn't go woke. That just indicates that the US was politicized. It was just politicized in the way that you liked. And the moment the US becomes politicized in a way that you don't like, oh, now that's a problem. But don't try to pretend that the US was not political, quote, politicized in the 90s. Oh, that's a joke. Politics were invented in the US in the 2000s. There were no politics in Ba Sing Se before that. Absolutely not. Politics were not a thing in the US before the 2000s. And this guy also almost has 2 million subscriptions on YouTube.
You're wearing a red hat or blue hat.
Yeah.
It really didn't matter. There were things that we shared. You could go see a movie without being preached at or scolded or shamed because of your skin color, your beliefs. It was a better country. And you had to have a country.
Oh, what bullshit. The US had all the problems that it has now. This is just... And people eat this sort of rhetoric up. I know that people eat this sort of rhetoric up. That's total nonsense. It's like a fantasy. People were always arguing about this stuff. I just didn't know because you were a kid. That's it. It's just ridiculous. But people do like hearing stuff like that. People love hearing stuff like that because it's simple. Things used to be good. Now things are bad. And now let's make America great again. Had people complaining on movies in the 90s too. Yeah, of course. Because politics were not invented in the 2000s. Unlike what I just said. It's ridiculous. People had all the same problems. People had all the same discussions. This guy just didn't see it because he was a kid in the 90s. So it just didn't affect him. He just were not He was just not directly sort of interested, or he just didn't see it. That's it. Like, we're gonna have kids now are gonna grow up and in the future gonna be saying, oh, in 2020 there were no politics in movies and arguing. It was just a fun time. But now, you get the the gist.
Country, you have to have something that you share. There has to be like a shared culture, and that is quickly being rent in America. And that is the thing that actually does terrify me. You need to have things that we all agree on. And even now, the American flag is divisive to the point that we allow it to be burned in our streets. And I think that like is a horrible place to grow up. And so we need to have a shared culture, and the injection of politics into absolutely everything divides the nation and fractures the place. It makes it a terrible part.
What does a shared culture mean? Like, the whole idea of the US has always been that it's a melting pot. No? So what is the shared culture? That makes no sense, especially for the US. This idea of a shared culture. The US is just a place where many, many different cultures exist at the same time. Right? Like, it's the place where you can get dishes from different parts of the world, because people from different cultures live in the US and thrive. That's the whole idea, no? That you can experience many different cultures in the US, not a single sort of unified one. Like, you can speak of a shared element, like the idea of everybody being part of the country, part of the US. But speaking of a shared culture is quite flattening of what the US is supposed to be, no?
Place to live. Now, here's the one thing about that movie that I think is 100% fiction and fantasy, is that California and Texas unite to actually fight the federal government.
Right.
I don't see that ever happening. I mean, you want to talk about real Hollywood magic?
Yeah.
California and Texas joining teams to like go fight a common enemy. Don't see that happening.
I can't see that happening. Dave Smith, I mean, what do you feel about this? It's interesting that both Benny and Destiny kind of found common ground there. And that's kind of where we want to get to. You know, I mean, I was struck by, for example, Speaker Johnson, you know, changing his mind about Ukraine, for example, and getting that bill through in the end, doing a deal with Democrats. I actually thought, whatever your view of the Ukraine part of that, which is obviously a major part of that money, whatever your view of it, it was quite refreshing to see a Republican speaker, you know, crossing the aisle and prepared to do a deal for what he believed was the national interest of America.
I want to see what these people think of Ukraine. You had people complaining on movies. Yes, I already read it. It's like you just view politics as their favorite sports. I mean, yeah. Yes, that's basically it.
I think Trump actually recognized that because he was quite supportive of Speaker Johnson in a way that, you know, that it may not have been expected. So is that the kind of thing we want to see more of?
Well, no. I mean, from my perspective, I certainly don't want to see more money going to foreign wars that have nothing to do with the United States of America.
The centrists and especially the Trumpists are going to be anti-Ukraine because they're idiots. I'm sorry. If you're anti-Ukraine, if you are against supporting Ukraine in its defending itself against Russia, then you're just an idiot. You're just so short-sighted. You're just so blind as not to see what the loss of Ukraine will lead to. Then you're beyond help. You're just beyond help if you think that Russia threatening the biggest trade partner of the US is a good thing. Like, I don't know what to tell you at that point. You're just lost if you think that it's good. It's a good idea to block and not send aid to Ukraine. There we go. I said I wondered what the opinion of these two are on Ukraine, and now I know what the opinion of the centrist is. So I bet I'm gonna hear something similar or even worse from Benny here. I have a hunch. I have a feeling in my gut that that's gonna happen. Well, let's see.
America. But to the broader theme that you're talking about, I don't exactly celebrate the political parties coming together. I actually think that's when a lot of the worst things that the United States of America does happen. I would support the people of this country being more united. And I agree with both of you guys that I doubt that we're going to be in a hot civil war anytime soon. We do kind of seem to be flirting with the concept. And I think cultural divisions and political divisions in this country are the worst that they've ever been in my lifetime.
Wow.
And, one of the things that I would mention is a huge component of this is that the federal government, starting under George W. Bush, continuing through Obama, continuing through Trump, and continuing with Joe Biden, has gotten enormously bigger and more powerful since the 90s. Yes. Like if you're thinking about what's different then. And the idea that the founders had of this country was a very restricted government with strong federalism. And as the government, look, the government in DC is the most powerful organization in the history of the world, and there's no close second. They're spending over $6 trillion a year. And what happens when the centralized government gets more and more powerful is that who controls it becomes more and more important. If you have a very small government, it doesn't really matter if your political enemies control it. When you have a gigantic government, it's life or death. And I think this is a big part of the reason why, as Benny pointed out, everything is becoming politicized now. And it's horrible. Politics is like the worst, most corrupt thing that human beings do. Yeah. You want that to be,
That is the stupidest sentiment I've ever heard. I have to listen to it again. Like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
At the worst, most out, everything is becoming politicized now. And it's horrible. Politics is like the worst, most corrupt thing that human beings do. Yeah. You want.
No, let's just whatever.
That be
that does not need,
as removed and
I don't think this needs a comment. It is just a silly thing to say. It's just a thought terminating cliche slogan. It actually means it actually doesn't mean anything to say that. Oh, politics is the most corrupt thing ever. Okay, where do we go from here? We go nowhere because this is a meaningless statement. It's an empty statement.
Compartmentalized as it possibly can be.
The one thing, I think I'm a point of unity for America, because I think the one thing you can all agree on is when you start Brit bashing. Then I find the country comes together extremely well.
Then we.
Destiny, I want to end with quite an interesting.
I'm gonna do Hassan next. It's gonna be a barrel of laughs. I heard that the Hassan thing was even wilder. We're doing a Piers Morgan marathon.
Moment this week between a podcast between Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson on Joe's podcast, in which Tucker Carlson was asked about nuclear weapons, and he said this.
Well, I love, by the way, that people on my side, I'll just admit it, on the right, have spent the last 80 years defending dropping nuclear weapons on civilians. Like, are you joking?
Right.
That's just like prima facie evil.
Yeah.
If you can't, if we hadn't done that, then this, that, the other thing, that was actually a great savings. Like, no, it's wrong to drop nuclear weapons on people. And if you find yourself arguing that it's a good thing to drop nuclear weapons on people, then you are evil. Like, it's not a tough one, right? It's not a hard call for you. It's not a hard call for me.
So that was interesting. There's also another interesting Tucker-related moment this week where Mitch McConnell said this about him.
Sir, I think the demonization of Ukraine began by Tucker Carlson, who, in my opinion, ended up where he should have been all along, which is interviewing Vladimir Putin. And so he had an enormous audience, which convinced a lot of rank-and-file Republicans that maybe this was a mistake.
So, two interesting Tucker-related things there. Destiny, on the first point,
Tucker Carlson.
What is your view about the morality of nuclear weapons? Is there ever a justification? Was it right for America to drop bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
Well, the nuclear weapons are more of a deterrent. At this point, nuclear weapons serve more as of a deterrent than anything else. Like, nobody actually wants to use nuclear weapons. Because actually, there's too much of an escalatory ladder that is related to using nuclear weapons. It's just gonna be retaliation, the whole mutually assured destruction. Even if by some miracle one side wins such a sort of exchange, such a battle, nuclear battle, then what are they gonna be ruling over? Like a desolate wasteland. So nobody wants that. Even if there's a possibility for one side to win, they would be residing over uninhabitable wasteland.
Nagasaki to prevent, as they saw it at the time, potentially millions more people being slaughtered?
Man, that's a big question. I think that in retrospect, I think that we view nuclear weapons a little bit more special than they actually are. I think that people had this idea that in World War II, when we were fighting with Japan, we would attack a city and 100 people would die. We'd do a huge bombing run and maybe a couple thousand people would die. And then the nuclear bombs dropped and it was 40,000, 60,000. Like, oh my God, it was an unprecedented massacre. The reality was the bombing campaigns that happened during World War II were insane. There are huge death counts. Dresden, in a single day, I think like 25,000 people were disintegrated.
Okay. So this is very, very stupid, what Destiny just said. I guess I'm just gonna be a bit mean here. The main thing that makes the nuclear weapons so scary, so deadly, so bad to use, what makes them a deterrent more than anything, what makes them a thing that nobody wants to use, is not just the death toll. It's not just that it evaporates an X amount of people. It also the whole, radiation that radiates the earth, that affects multiple generations sort of that live through it. The radiation itself is a huge part of it. The fallout, the name of the game, the radiation dropping down to the earth and poisoning it, rendering it unusable. That is also a little bit of a component. And Dresden has not done that. Dresden has not poisoned the earth. Dresden has not irradiated the survivors, that their children were born either dead or with horrible deformities, or they just... Those are basic facts about nuclear weapons, about nuclear warfare. The radiation part. Like, nuclear weapons are not just about the death toll. It's about the long-term consequences of using such weapons. Which is why I said that even if by some miracle one side could win a nuclear conflict, they would be residing over an uninhabitable wasteland because of the radiation. Unless Destiny is going to mention that in a moment. But so far he's just talking about the death toll, which is like a very silly way of talking about nuclear weapons. The fact that he just says that the nuclear bomb is treated in a special way for no reason. No, there is a very clear reason why it's treated in a special way. Also, keep in mind, and while we're on the subject of death toll, right? Nuclear weapons technology has advanced since World War II. Now nuclear weapons have the capacity to, theoretically speaking, wipe out millions of people, not just hundreds, not just tens of thousands. The range of nuclear weapons have expanded tremendously since the fat boy or whatever was thrown on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Like, I'm sorry. The destructive capability of a nuclear weapon is much bigger now than it was in the past. That's silly what he's saying now.
For the fire bombings of Tokyo, I think in 1 to 2 days, it was, some estimates are as high as like 130,000 people were killed. So I don't think that nuclear weapons should get a special carve out in terms of like, was it okay to nuke or was it not okay to nuke? Because the question is, it really has to do with bombing in general and the civilian cost of any war in general.
No, nuclear weapons have very special qualities that other types of bombs don't. I'm sorry, it's just a fact. The lingering radiation being the biggest. He's just taking the nuclear out of the whole thing. He's just ignoring the whole nuclear aspect of it. You cannot do that. Like it's not just a fancy that nuclear weaponry is treated special. There's a very, very good reason for that. Come on, Steven. That's very basic. That's the most basic thing. Even a limited nuclear warfare can be devastating. Can have a devastating effect on global population. Of course, due to the radiation. God, Steven. The biggest problem isn't the bombing itself and the number of people killed. The biggest problem is the radiation itself. Due to the particles it releases. Yeah, the fallout. It can cause nuclear winter where the drop of crops farming will take massive toll. Yeah, and also it affects people themselves that get exposed to the radiation. Oh, God. I never expected to hear from Destiny, oh yeah, nuclear bombs are treated special for no reason. Like, okay.
Any war is always going to incur, any war between two great powers or any two people are going to incur a great deal of civilian death. It seems to be an unavoidable aspect of war. And
yeah, I know. I realize you love to ignore civilian death, but that's not the point as to why nuclear weapons are treated special, actually. Believe it or not, even though the death toll would be enormous from a nuclear weapon. Like, you cannot just discuss nuclear weapons and take the nuclear aspect out of it and then say, oh, why are those weapons treated so special?
I don't think nuclear weapons are like a special part of that, because conventional bombing runs and conventional ground warfare have led to huge civilian casualties.
Oh, God, he legitimately thinks that all there is to the discussion about nuclear warfare is the death count of civilians. I genuinely think that's all there is to the discussion. How does this guy get so much attention? How does this guy get so much clout when there are people that are far more informed, far more educated on this, that could be here instead of you, that are streamers? Why? Why you? So even if we talk of limited radiation impact, the normal particles released and due to these fires and there are radiation matters won't be able to fight for. Jesus. I guess according to Destiny, nuclear deterrence is just a silly idea. Because we're treating nuclear weapons special for no reason. Because it's just all about the immediate death toll and nothing else.
nuclear weapons being used or not. Regardless of your stance on the Israeli-Gaza war, I mean, there's a lot of civilians that are dead and are casualties of that war. No nuclear weapons have been used whatsoever.
Right. I think it's a good point. And just quickly on
It's
Tucker.
not a good point. That's not the point of the nuclear deterrence discussion at all. Whether or not many civilians will die. That's actually not the point of the... Yeah. There's so many aspects to the use of nuclear weapons. There's so many aspects to the use of nuclear weapons beyond just immediate death count. Wow. Wowzers, trousers. I did not expect this to happen. I did not expect to be exposed to this. I did not expect this sort of exposure. I did not expect the discussion about nuclear weapons to be reduced to, oh yeah, different types of bombs cause a lot of death among civilians too. So what's the big deal? Damn. Why has no one thought of that? That conventional weapons also kill civilians. All that nuclear deterrence should be just thrown out the window. Nuclear weapons are no special. Other than the conventional weapons kill civilians too. Jesus Christ. Wow.
And Mitch McConnell, do you think McConnell had a point there? Do you think that this weird thing where you have a big section of the Republican Party very hostile about helping Ukraine, which perhaps historically wouldn't have been the case, is that down to Tucker, do you think?
I feel like everybody, it just feels like we have these reactionary trends where, in the 90s and in the 2000s, conservatives got so mad about, gay people and metrosexuals and, progressives are like, okay, well, now we don't even, a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man, screw you. And everybody's like so reactionary in how they view things. And now you've got the Republican Party who.
Okay, I have to listen to this again because I feel like Steven's entering pretty shaky territory with what he just said.
A woman and a woman can be sexuals and, in the 90s and in the 2000s, conservatives got so mad about, gay people and metrosexuals and, progressives are like, okay, well, now we don't even, a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man, screw.
There's so much wrong with what he just said here. So much wrong.
Screw you. And everybody's like so reactionary in how they view things. And now you've got the Republican Party who. Who's like, well, screw everything that the Democrats stand for. Like, we actually think.
So trans issues are a reactionary. Am I even understanding this correctly? What is being said here? Trans issues are now a reactionary position to the Republicans that got mad about the gays. Is that what I just heard him say? Trans issues are a reactionary position to the Republicans getting mad about the gays in the 90s and the 2000s. Is that really your stance, Stephen? I hope not. I hope I'm just misrepresenting what you're... I hope I'm misunderstanding here. I certainly hope so. I have to be misunderstanding what he it's impossible that's what he's saying. It's just impossible. I don't believe it. No, it has to be. It has to be a case of a misunderstanding on my part. I have to be misunderstanding what he's saying here.
I think Putin is based and strong and America is weak.
I don't believe that he's actually saying that emergence of trans people was a reactionary thing to Republicans being mad about the gays in the 90s. I refuse to believe that my interpretation of what he just said is correct. I'm gonna choose to be in denial about this.
Have too much LGBT stuff, and we're going to support every single person that is against America because we think they're stronger, better leaders, and America shouldn't be involved in anything. And when I look at the Ukrainian Russian stuff, that's kind of what it feels like to me. Like I very rarely hear like a principled take on whether or not we should be intervening in that conflict. It usually just comes down to some weird quasi-libertarian, like, oh well, we shouldn't be involved in any foreign conflict whatsoever. And it's like, really, is that really the stance we want to take? Is that how we would have felt in the first Gulf War? Is that how we would have felt with Yugoslavia or Bosnia? Is that how we would have felt with World War II? Is that, should South Korea and North Korea be one country that America never did anything with? Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like there's much like intellectual thought to mine on the anti-interventionist train of thought that's currently running through the Conservative Party.
Okay, interesting. Benny, on that first point, the morality of nuclear war, where do you sit with that?
Yeah, so I think also it's very wise to take a step back and look from a 35,000-foot perspective as to what is the industry of our federal government. Why are the richest counties in America, 8 of the top 10 richest counties in America, not Beverly Hills, not
What does that have to do with nuclear warfare?
Not Miami, not Wall Street, all in the circumference of Washington, D.C. What's in the circumference of Washington, D.C.? It is a rat-infested, crime-riddled hellscape that is horrible to live in.
What does that have to do with anything, this little rant? The question was about nuclear warfare. What are you doing? What are you talking about? What is happening here? What are you doing? Dude, what are you... Come on.
Lived there for 15 years. Why would all of these counties around D.C. be so bloody rich? What is their industry? Their industry is war. And that is why in my lifetime, America has always been at war, has been at forever war. There's always a war that is being concocted and created. That is the industry of permanent Washington.
I've heard about the Dr. K thing, yeah. What do you think about nuclear war? Let me tell you about DC, like, basically.
It is evil. And from a moral perspective, it is evil. And the older you get, and I have 3 kids, the more I, think about my kids being draft age, the more I think about, honestly, F you guys. If you think that, my kids are just...
Oh, yeah, the U.S., the draft in the U.S. is so real. This has nothing to do with either nuclear warfare, the draft, or the Ukraine conflict, because not a single American soldier has been sent to Ukraine. So what are you even talking about? This is so silly. What are we talking about?
Just cannon fodder for a couple extra points on your Raytheon stock. They're not.
But what about...
They're moral human beings. And
okay,
so
it's
like, you got to step back and say, why...
He just went into his own world. He just went into a rant. Or that's not related to anything that he was being asked. Okay, that's really... The thing that Piers Morgan should do is now say, that is very interesting, that is all very illuminating, but could you answer the question now? Is it possible for you to maybe answer what I asked? That would be nice. That would be, well, appreciated.
These people continue to push for war. Why do they hate anti-interventionism?
Okay.
And what the hell are we doing in Ukraine? I mean, it really is a question. Is the $60 billion going to really win the war?
But just on that one point about when America dropped the bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki because they were trying to end an
Yeah, could we just get back on topic? While your rant is very entertaining, could we just get back on it? Get back to the to the grind.
Potential threat to Western civilization, the Nazis. Was that justified, do you think?
I think ending war is good. I think ending war is good. But oftentimes, again, the older you get, the more you realize that war is not a side of the angels versus the devil. Oftentimes. Oftentimes, war is...
Well, now I really want you to chime in on Ukraine and tell us who the angels and who the devils are. I want to hear your opinion. I'm really curious now, Benny.
2 different devils fighting for evil...
2 different devils.
Causes. And the people who are caught in the middle are the carnage. And those are our children. Those are just normal people. It's never the politicians' children.
Okay.
It's never anyone in power's children.
Our children, because the U.S. soldiers are. Shut up.
America has been led by draft dodgers for my entire life, Piers. My entire life, you've had Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Joe Biden is a draft dodger, John Kerry's a draft dodger. None of these people have ever served.
Actually,
right?
as somebody whose brother was a serving Army colonel and brother-in-law was a serving Army colonel, you make a very good point. Very quickly, Betty, just a quick yes or no. Do you think that Tucker's been the major influence about the anti-Ukraine sentiment?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
and a good one, and an excellent one, and something that's really good to shake the conservative side awake and say, wait a second, which country do you wish to put first? And
we're running out of time. I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you short. We are running out of time.
That is such bullshit. How can this person have almost 2 million subscribers? Like hacks that don't know anything that they're talking about. They're simplistic brain rot.
Dave Smith, just quickly on this.
And he loves to talk about the mercenaries who are American and have gone to fight for Zelensky. Can you link me a video when he says that? I couldn't find any videos of his that talk about Ukraine. So it would be I would appreciate it if you link me some of his statements about Ukraine. I would love to hear them. I would love to watch. I would love to see this person speak about Ukraine directly. That's gonna be entertainment.
2 points then. The morality of nuclear weapons, where do you sit with that?
Okay, well, to correct something you said there, we did not drop the nuclear weapons to end the existential threat that was Nazism. The Nazis had already been defeated. Adolf Hitler was already dead, and the fighting in Europe was over. This is why 5-star General Dwight Eisenhower was against them. He said it was horrible, and he also said it was unnecessary strategically, and that Japan was ready to negotiate a surrender.
That's an important clarification. You're right, yeah.
Yeah, and on the second point, look, Tucker gets a lot of credit. He's very influential in the right wing in America. But no.
Can you link it? Can you link it to me on Discord in DMs? I want to watch. Maybe not today, but I certainly want to watch it.
Reason why the America First movement rose up and why
Trump was also a draft dodger, yet he didn't mention him. Curious. I mean, a Trumper would not do that.
Republicans have gone more non-interventionist is because of the 20 years of disastrous, catastrophic terror wars. Every last one of them being an utter disaster that did nothing but slaughter hundreds of thousands of people, cost...
That has nothing to do with the war in Ukraine. The terror wars have nothing to do with the war in Ukraine, even though Ukraine is giving a fraction of the amount of money that were invested in those terror wars while we're at it. While we're speaking about those.
Trillions of dollars and leave our bravest young men blowing their brains out by the tens of thousands.
Millions.
That's what has brought about this non-interventionist streak amongst Republican voters.
Interesting. Guys, fantastic to talk to you. Really enjoyed it again. Let's do it again. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much to Destiny, Benny Johnson,
Thanks, Piers.
and
That
Dave
was
Smith.
horrible.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Piers.
That was horrible. Okay, so we've done this. We've done a little bit of, we've suffered a bit for democracy, limited, the controlled democracy. And now we have a choice, okay? We have a beautiful, beautiful choice because we here on the Lucy Haze, or if you want, Hayes experience, have a controlled democracy. So what I will do is I will go to the toilet. I will. And in the meantime, you have a big choice to make. A big responsible choice to make. We can either now watch Hassan make a spectacle of himself on Piers Morgan. We can do a Piers Morgan marathon. Or we can play some New Vegas. The power is yours, as they said in Captain Planet and the Planeteers. The power is yours. So I'm going to the toilet and you choose your destiny. Choose your destiny. I'll be right back. Back. Have you made a choice about what you want me to do? I'm personally feeling good on Morgan, but honestly, I'd be fine with whatever you'd want. Okay, let's watch what Benny has to say on Ukraine. Why not? Like, this is gonna be, I don't want to say a treat. This is gonna be horrible, isn't it? This is gonna be a nightmare, if you will. Hello, Maya Mayor. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to this experience. We're gonna be listening to a person called Benny, who almost has 2 million subscribers on YouTube. He's gonna be talking on Ukraine, giving his opinion on Ukraine. How old is this video? 11 minutes. 11 minutes. Oh, how classy. How classy. 5 months ago, an old video. But still, we're gonna be able to... He was against aid to Ukraine now in this new video with on Piers Morgan. So let's see. Let's see what are the... Let's see. It's just... Whatever, let's get into it. Starting with this classy picture. Oh wow, a leader of a country is trying to gain funds in order to allow the country to defend itself against a foreign aggressor. Oh, it's just being a beggar. Oh yeah, how funny. What a funny joke.
more. What? Please, sir. I want some more.
Oh yeah, how funny it is for Ukraine to expect the US to actually fulfill its obligation as allies. How silly. How yeah. So this is Benny Johnson, 1.95 million subscribers. This video has 131,000 views. This person, I am willing to bet, I am willing to, on a dime, to gander a guess that his person knows nothing about Ukraine, knows nothing about Ukrainian history, knows nothing about this region, knows nothing about this conflict, and yet, with great confidence, will talk about it, will say incredibly ignorant, incredibly misinformed things, and 131,000 people just eat it up. Just take this into perspective. There are people that are far more informed on this topic, far more engaged in this topic, that have a fraction of this view count. People that are actually educated on this reach a fraction of this audience. But the most deluded, the most ignorant people on this subject reach a much bigger amount of people. Let this sink in. Let this sink in.
More? Snatch him! Hold him! Scout him!
What's up, guys? It's your boy, Benny. Alexander Solzhenitsyn said that a system built
loud, empty content
on fraud can only last so long before it collapses in on itself, and you are beginning to see the collapse of the fraudulent nation of Ukraine. And
fraudulent nation of Ukraine. What strong words. Based on what exactly? What exactly are we basing this fraud? How can a nation be fraudulent? Just let's start with that. What does that mean?
And its creepy little tracksuit strip club look-like wearing leader Volodymyr Zelensky, one of
Volodymyr Zelensky. I can now see where. Well, that is interesting. I've not been aware of this person's existence at all, even though this person is a really big creator with really big influence, with really big reach. Like, I've not been aware of this person's existence at all. And these sort of opinions reach a lot of people. Volodymyr Zelensky, fraudulent nation. Again, these are just empty slogans based in nothing. Empty slogans. Just flashy, loud, throwing statements without any basis, without any analysis to them whatsoever. And it tracks. It tracks with people. A lot of people view this and agree and nod mindlessly to this sort of rhetoric. Well, again, people that actually look into things, read the history of Ukraine, read non-stop, are plugged into this conflict, educating themselves on it. In fact, plug themselves into Russian media to have both perspectives. Some of them even insert themselves into the conflict directly by going there. Like, it's ridiculous that those sorts of people gain a fraction of the audience that this clown gets, even though he says nothing. He says nothing. Let me check the microphone. Yeah, hello? Oh, wait. Hello, hello, hello. It should be fine. I should be fine. I seem fine on my end, so I don't know. Everything seems okay here. Everything seems fine as I check the audio. So it's, I don't know, maybe it's on your end. It really is ridiculous and makes me sad. Yeah, it makes me sad and angry, to be quite honest. It just... There are so many better commentators on Ukraine that should be getting this sort of views. I've been saying no more dollars to Ukraine. You realize we were sending old military equipment and not just cash, right? That's a good point. The CIA and the US media built this little goblin. Everybody is sick of Zelensky, always demanding money. But this is...
of the worst and most malevolent individuals to ever grace the international stage, an absolute cretin who demands that America pay in blood.
Absolute cretin. In blood? Hold on. What?
Blood and money.
Blood and money. How is America paying in blood? What? How is America Not a single U.S. soldier was sent to Ukraine. That would be a direct conflict between the U.S. and Russia. Like, what are you talking about? You have no idea what you're talking about. Paying in blood. Really? Paying in blood. Oh. I'm just gonna pronounce this as this.
For his stupid border dispute.
Border dispute? I'm sorry, the war between Russia and Ukraine is a border dispute. Well, now I know just how much this person knows about the conflict. Now I know how much this person knows about the war, which predictably he knows nothing at all. Border conflict. Border conflict.
I am done pulling punches on this. America...
You're an idiot. You're up. I don't know if I even have anything to respond to here. You know nothing about this war. You know nothing about anything related to Ukraine, really. Why are you talking about this? Why are you talking about this topic? There are people that have bad opinions on Ukraine, but at least they know the basics. At least they know the very basics of the conflict. They don't call it a border dispute. A border dispute.
America's border is more important than Ukraine's border, period. You have a war. America's border is more important than Ukraine's border.
You're stupid. You can take care of both things at once. Can you walk and chew a bubble gum at the same time? It doesn't seem so. If you think those two topics are mutually exclusive. The U.S. sovereign border and supporting Ukraine's war.
Period. You have a war, fight it yourself.
The Budapest Memorandum clearly set out certain responsibilities, certain obligations on the U.S. that should Ukraine border integrity be threatened, the U.S. would step in and support Ukraine. That is an obligation. That obligation that the U.S. should keep if it's to be credible anywhere, if it's to remain its credibility as an ally to anywhere else on earth.
God, I hate this guy. And now Time Magazine...
How can you even say that? That was the whole point of the Budapest Memorandum, that the integrity of Ukrainian borders would be preserved. That the US would step in should anyone try to invade like this.
Has finally effectively launched the nuclear torpedo into
okay, I've heard many ridiculous pronunciations of the word nuclear, but nuclear is that has to be the first. Nuclear.
the effectively launched the nuclear torpedo.
Nuclear. Okay. Nuclear. Jeez. Nuclear.
Into the USS Zelensky and sunk that ship for good.
What? That is so delusional, especially in retrospect. That is especially bad in retrospect when when the 8 has passed. This is especially bad in retrospect.
This is the most devastating piece on Zelensky just dropped inside of one of these rags read by.
Oh yeah, devastating. President Zelensky is so devastated.
By all of the American elites, right?
American elites.
Nobody reads or subscribes to Time Magazine anymore, but the people in the halls of power still care about this publication, and so that's why this is important. Zelensky was running late. An invitation to a speech at the National Archives in Washington had gone out to several hundred guests, including congressional members, top officials at the Biden administration, billed as the main event. In late September, it would give him a chance to inspire U.S. support. That afternoon, Zelensky was running late at the White House and Pentagon and delayed by more than an hour. When he arrived, he looked distant and agitated. His speech felt...
Yeah, you would be a bit distant and agitated as your people are being slaughtered on the battlefield, wouldn't you? Like, this person is just the worst.
Stilted, and he wanted to get it over with. At one point, while handing out medals, he urged the organizer to hurry things along. Probably because his uppers were wearing off, most likely. The piece, of course, in Time Magazine goes on, and this is, of course, the cover of Time Magazine here. Nobody believes in victory like I do. Nobody. Yeah, well, cocaine's a hell of a drug, dude.
Why are you talking about this topic? You clearly know nothing about it. Why are you chiming in? Why are you chiming in on the topic of Ukraine war? Why?
So these are the top lines of what this article demonstrates, which is just utterly and totally devastating for the regime. Check this out.
Regime. This just reads like pro-Russian propaganda. Quite honestly, the regime.
The Ukrainian president's advisors warn that people are stealing money like there's no tomorrow. When asked about bribes and corruption inside of the state of Ukraine.
Of course.
59% of Americans don't want Congress to provide more weapons to Kyiv.
I want citation on this because from what I know, all polls indicate that the US is still firmly in support of Ukraine. Till this day. This video is from 5 months ago. And currently, most people in the US, or rather a bigger amount of people according to the polls, is for the support of Ukraine. So I don't know where these numbers are coming from.
Up from 35% in June, so the propaganda is wearing off here at home.
No, it's what propaganda? The propaganda of a country defending itself against an illegal aggression? That propaganda?
Southeastern fifth of Ukraine, where the population is predominantly Russian speakers, remains under Russian control. They haven't been able to budge anything. We have the maps actually to prove that. Check this out. just to jump over here.
Wait, what is this supposed to prove, apart from the fact that Ukraine is not giving enough aid to free these regions, to liberate them? What is this supposed to prove? I have no idea what this is supposed to prove, outside of your ignorance on the subject. Yes, Russia is occupying territory because Ukraine has not been given enough means to liberate them. Yes. What are you trying to say? Are you going to make a point?
This is a map from the New York Times. This is the area that the Russians invaded and that they took and that they've held, and the Ukrainian gains that we paid.
I'm just gonna remind you that Ukraine has liberated 50% of the territory that Russia has initially conquered. So let's ignore that, shall we? Interesting. Maybe you would mention that if you knew anything about this conflict whatsoever, even the basic facts on this conflict.
Billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars for. Look at these.
Hundreds of billions. Really? Hundreds of billions of dollars. Citation needed. Hundreds of billions of dollars have been spent by the US on this conflict, by the US alone. Hundreds of billions. Really? How interesting. I want to see. Hundreds of billions of dollars.
Little blue specks on a map. You wouldn't be able to put like a Chick-fil-A on that. Look at it. Look at it. This is what we fought for. That. See that? And that. This is what.
Oh, wow. How interesting. How much honest. Let's see. Let's go to the deep state map and just see how much honesty are we getting from this person. Let's actually look at the liberated territories, shall we? Liberated territory is green. Oh, we're fighting for specs. We're fighting for specs. Oh, wow, look, this is a spec. And keep in mind, the situation has changed since 5 months ago because Russia has been gaining ground, because Ukraine has not been given aid for 6 months. So Russia has been gaining ground. But wait, what's this? What's this liberated territory? What's this? What is this? Wow, suddenly it seems like we're seeing a totally different picture. The green territory is liberated territory. So let me hear that again. Let me hear that again and show you this map again.
Look at it. Map. Billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars for.
Hundreds of billions of dollars, by the way.
These little blue specks on a map. You wouldn't be able to put like a Chick-fil-A on that. Look at it. Look at it. This is what we fought for. That. See that? And that. This is what the vaunted Ukrainian counteroffensive has done.
Liberated territory. Liberated territory. How interesting. Huh. Kherson. How, wow. Yeah, we're sure. We are sure fighting. We're fighting for little specks, huh? Interesting when you actually look and zoom out the map and look at all the liberated territory from the beginning of the war. Well, whatever.
Okay, let's continue. Zelensky's close advisor.
Let's continue.
Warned that he deludes himself. We're out of options. We're not winning. But try telling him that. Oh my God. Ukraine's shortage of soldiers is more dire than its deficit in arms and ammunition.
That's not true. That is definitely not true. While it is true that Ukraine is having a problem with mobilization, it is definitely not true that the problem of the lack of money dwarfs the problem of lack of weapons and ammunition. That is definitely not true. That is an outright lie.
Draft officers pull men off trains and buses and send them to the front in the meat grinder. The death toll has long surpassed 100,000 on each side of the war, forcing the draft of the elderly, raising the average age of the Ukrainian soldier to 43 years old.
That is also a lie and bullshit. That is the biggest dishonest lie, because it implies a couple of things. It implies that the age of Ukrainian soldier was lower before, and that all the young men died. That is not true, actually. In fact, Ukraine lowered it recently to 25 because Ukraine for a long time has avoided sending many young people to the front because of the demographic sort of slump, you know? So that is definitely a lie. This whole narrative of this little sentence sort of implies that a lot of young people died and older people were forced to be put in the army, which is a lie. This is just straight up misinformation, just so you know. Like, the opposite is true. Younger people were sort of, there was this attempt to avoid getting younger people into the army. So that is just not true.
Good God. Corruption remains widespread.
Good God. I know nothing about this conflict at all, and yet I chime in with such confidence. Good God.
Despite Zelensky firing numerous officers and defense ministers, Zelensky is worried that the focus of Ukraine's allies on the U.S. and Europe and the global media has shifted to Israel and Palestine and the Gaza Strip. Why are Time Magazine and the corporate media starting to throw Ukraine and Zelensky under the bus? Well, because, ladies and gentlemen, they've been told to. They are no longer the flavor of the month. We need to get a new emergency. It wore off. We wouldn't need.
That looks so silly in retrospect. That looks so silly in retrospect because the aid has just passed. And this guy was against the aid passing, by the way. Just saying. And by the way, the only reason why the aid has not passed for so long is because of your party, the Republican Party. Benny.
Need a new emergency, but now we have to because it wore off and we can't get the funding going.
Nothing wore off. You're an idiot. And your party has been blocking aid for 6 months. The blood of Ukrainian soldiers is on your party's hands, unironically.
And we have to keep the money laundering system engaged.
The money laundering system. Can you elaborate? Or are you just going to throw out an empty, meaningless claim without any evidence, without any elaboration, without anything? There's a big report that explains where exactly the aid went, how it was spent. Let me see. Oh, here we go. What do you know? Operation Atlantic Resolve, including U.S. government activities related to Ukraine. A Hold report. Special Inspector General report to the United States Congress, explaining exactly where the money goes, what happens to it, etc., etc. This report is 158 pages long. There is a 158% long report explaining what happens with the aid money, explaining what happens with the funds very transparently. So what do I trust more? Let me think. What do I trust more? A 158 pages report or a guy that says that aid to Ukraine is a money laundering scheme? Who do I trust more? I don't know. That's a tough one. That is a hard call. I don't know. I don't know who to trust. I just don't know. I'm just not sure.
We've seen that. We've talked on this show how
I just don't know who to trust anymore. I'm confused now.
this is the way that it works. The money goes directly to U.S. members of Congress. How's that work? U.S. members of Congress retire, or their staff move on into lobbying positions, and those lobbying positions get huge paychecks from these Ukraine funds.
What? You're shitting me.
It is simply money laundering.
You're shitting me. Is that really what you think happens? Well, I guess I'm gonna have to find the right page in that report that I just showed as to which,
legal. It is illegal, but a legal.
Is that how you think that it works? That the money just gets to Congress and people just retire and give themselves fat paychecks?
Form of money laundering directly out of the U.S. Treasury, directly.
Amazing. Is that what you think happens? Is that how he thinks that the aid works? Is that a fact? Also, hello, fake Alec Parker. This is just...
directly to members of Congress. It's despicable. According to New Time magazine profile, Zelensky feels betrayed by his Western allies.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that.
Oh, Barry! Oh, Barry!
Thank you, fake Alec Parker, for the tier 1 subscription. There's a reason for that, because I'm gonna be honest, the aid from the West has been lacking. It has been lacking, and this is why we are in the war, in the situation that we are in right now. So yeah, there's a reason why Zelensky felt betrayed 5 months ago. Yeah.
Good. This guy is scum. Yeah.
And you're basing that on what? On the fact that he wants funds for his... Oh, okay.
His belief in Ukraine's ultimate victory over Russia worries some of his advisors. It verges on messianic. Man.
Citation needed.
And who's been saying...
Yeah, citation actually needed for this.
In this.
You know nothing about this conflict. You're just inserting yourself without any knowledge, ignorantly.
Deludes himself, says his close advisors.
Cool.
Deluded Western proxy warriors sabotage peace deals and convince Zelensky that he could win.
What peace deals? This is just vague bullshit. This is ridiculous.
Betrayed Ukraine. Ukraine should have sued for peace a long time ago.
Yeah, especially after Bucha. That was the perfect moment to sue for peace. To ask for peace. After Bucha. That was like the perfect moment, wasn't it?
And now they're going
to
to
desperately need more mass graves. We desperately need more Ukrainian territory under Russian control. We desperately need more deportations. We desperately need more children being Russified. We really need that. We really need this sort of peace. Really need this sort of peace that leads to Ukrainian people suffering, dying, being tortured, raped, Russified. And then we really need this sort of peace that would be the perfect launching point for Russia for a future invasion. That's definitely what we all should want, Benny. That's the best outcome.
no funding. I mean, there is no funding left in Congress. As Byron Donald says, there's no money for Ukraine.
Well, that's clearly nonsense because the aid has just passed a few days ago. So this, in retrospect, is, yeah.
In Congress. Ukraine is freaking out. Freaking out. They spent
That's one way to put it, considering that Ukraine is fighting for its existence. That it's an existential war, but whatever. That's just, Ukraine is freaking out.
$100 billion and nobody's counting the money and nobody's looking for fraud.
Nobody's counting the money and nobody's looking for fraud, huh? Operation Atlantic Resolve, including U.S. government activities related to Ukraine. Nobody's counting the money. Indeed. Nobody. There's totally not a big comprehensive report on this. It just doesn't exist. It's just not a thing.
I'm not going along with it. I will not allow my consent to push more money through Ukraine, says Rand Paul. Rand Paul says he's going to stop it, and the House says they're going to stop it. Full stop. Joe Biden, of course, whose family's getting rich off this. Joe Biden knows exactly how to make untold millions in Ukraine.
Like Ukraine fighting an existential war for its survival is just a money scheme for the Biden family, definitely. That's definitely what's happening. That is so true. That is so real.
Off corruption.
So
this was the
real.
corruption wheelhouse for Joe Biden. Our despicable Pravda, apparatchik Praetorian Guard press.
I'm sorry, what?
Can't. This was the corruption wheelhouse for Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the wheelhouse. Benny's whole thing is citation needed. Yeah.
Our despicable Pravda, apparatchik Praetorian Guard press can't connect the two dots, can't put the Lego pieces together.
What are the Lego pieces, pray tell?
Joe Biden asked about funding cuts to Ukraine, and he said there's another means by which we're able to fund that, but we're not going to talk about that now. So Joe Biden has some trick up his sleeve to keep this very successful war going. Look at how successful.
That is such an honest and, not at all scummy way of framing this. This is not at all a scummy way of looking at this. Not at all.
The war is. The red is what Russia gained, and the blue is what Ukraine has gained back.
Once again, we have the deep state map, and the green on the Ukraine map are the territory that Ukraine has sort of won back, right? All the green territory is the territory that Ukraine was able to liberate. Just to put things into perspective.
Oh, Barry!
Thank you. Thank you for the tier 1 sub for Aris. Thank you. So again, dishonesty on the display is pretty blatant.
God, how successful the war. Talk about that now. So Joe Biden has some trick up his sleeve.
Let's do that again.
Keep this very successful war going. Look at how successful the war is. The red is what Russia gained, and the blue is what Ukraine has gained back.
the green is actually what Ukraine has gained back. The green. 50% of initially gained territory by Russia has been gained back. Here, 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 here. Here. And I guess those are just specks, right? What honest and unbiased coverage this person is displaying.
Got it?
Oh God, I got it. I certainly got your point. I certainly understand the point that you're trying to make with this. That's yeah. Yeah, I get it. I got it. I got it, Chief.
The world is now turning on Zelensky, are the headlines. People are sick of the blank check demands. Yeah. And that's because American taxpayers are seeing clips like this.
A fraction of what has been spent by the US on past conflicts has been spent on Ukrainian aid. I just want you to keep that in perspective. That only a fraction of what the US has spent on past conflicts has been spent on Ukraine aid. Just keep that in mind when listening to this person.
Off of our own TV screen, 60 Minutes, saying America's not just funding the war, we're funding arts and crafts in Ukraine and Ukrainian farmers. What the F?
Yes. I know that this is a concept that is difficult to understand for a person that has no clue what they're talking about. But in fact, the only way for Ukraine to be able to win this war is for Ukraine economy to be kept afloat as well. And a big chunk of Ukraine economy is farming. You know, because of its black soil. That is a huge part of Ukrainian economy. And Ukraine needs to keep its economy afloat. Cities need to operate also relatively as normally as possible, even though they're being bombed nonstop, because Ukraine needs its economy to be able to defend itself against the invader. Yes, of course. That is one of the most basic things. Of course.
Taxpayers are financing more.
What are you talking about? Like, you have no clue what you're commenting on. You're out of your depth. And that is the worst kind of person to be. To know nothing about the conflict, to know nothing about the situation, to know nothing about the country which you are talking about, and be so confidently wrong. Be so confidently spread misinformation to your 131,000 viewers.
More than just weapons. The US government's buying seeds and fertilizer for Ukrainian farmers.
Yes, to keep the economy afloat. That's the most.
US also funds the divers clearing unexploded ammunition from.
Yes, of course. Like, what do you mean? Are you joking? Why are you frowning at this? Are you really so ignorant on the subject that you're attempting to comment on? You see this as a bad thing?
Country's rivers and covering the salaries of Ukraine's first responders.
Yes, it makes perfect sense. Of course. Ukrainian economy is now dependent on outside help because Ukrainian economy has switched in a big percentage to war. And Ukraine cannot just upkeep it without help. Yes. There's nothing extraordinary about this. There is nothing shocking about this unless you have no clue what you're talking about. It's just, I'm just dumbfounded that this guy finds an audience that listens to him.
57,000 of them. We were surprised to find that to keep it afloat, the US government is subsidizing small businesses.
Also, the US is not the only country that supports Ukraine. The EU is also helping to support Ukraine economy, etc. So, nice try.
Oh, okay. Have you gotten a check? Are you going to get a tax break as your small business?
What does that have to do with anything? This is such a dishonest framing that I don't even...
I sure as hell won't.
And I hope you never will.
But this little goblin, this little creep, little dirty strip club owner on the bad side of town.
Sure. Sure, Benny, sure. 1.95 million subscribers on this guy. With such in-depth analysis of foreign conflicts. What amazing analysis. Mind-blowing. Mind-blowing.
This man knows that his days are over. He knows it. He knows.
Well, 5 months later, the aid package has passed. It has just passed, so I guess that's a pretty failed prediction on your part in retrospect, huh?
Western allies have now turned their backs on Zelensky. This is why you see photos like this at NATO.
Is that so? Is that so, or have they?
You know, when everyone gives you tons of money and you get your ass kicked, and so they don't like.
Yeah, that's not how it went. That's not remotely how it works. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea how this conflict went from the beginning to now. You have no idea how the aid was distributed. You have no idea how the weapons were provided. You just know nothing. You just know nothing about this conflict, and yet you keep commenting on it. And that is the most infuriating thing. When the most ignorant people speak on this war and gain a lot more views than those who are actually well informed on it and struggle to get a fraction of the audience. That is just infuriating. That is the most depressing part about this. And I just cannot stress this enough, that there are people that are so much better equipped to talk about this topic that get a fraction of the views of this guy.
Let you in their club. The picture says 1,000 words. Speaking of, Zelensky didn't have 1,000 words. At a recent press gathering, Zelensky looked shook as hell.
This is just a demonstration that merit is not what gets you views. That sort of being prepared, being informed, educating yourself constantly on a topic, and trying to deliver the most objective, the most well-informed information on a topic does not guarantee you success. You often get more success by being loud, shallow, flashy.
With the United States, I've been in Washington, D.C., and I had a meeting with President Biden, and I had...
And bad, dude. Like this.
Heard, he's 100%.
All this time, I would like to note, this video is 11 minutes. We're on the 8-minute 24 mark. He has said nothing of substance. He has basically said he has done no analysis of the situation. He has given no basis to what he is saying. He has provided no data. He has provided nothing. He has provided nothing. He has said nothing but empty slogans and misinformation. He might as well be a Russian shell at this point.
And support.
And I say this even though this video is 5 months old. We have seen on Piers Morgan that his opinion on Ukraine has not changed much within the last 5 months.
White House and also support by
because you have the tapes,
by,
because you have the Biden tapes.
bipartisan support in Congress. I think it's important.
Biden tapes. What does that have to do with anything? Yeah, I'm sure Zelensky cares so much about the Biden tapes.
Of course, difficult election period for the United States. Different voices. Some of the voices are very strange.
Dude, okay, I'm telling you, there's only one voice that's been right about Zelensky from day one.
Who? Whose voice? Who are you gonna say that was right about Zelensky from the get-go, from day one? Are you gonna name yourself? You're gonna name yourself, even though you have no clue what you're talking about.
One. Only one. It's one of
So who is it? Who is it? Name the person.
the reasons why they silenced him. Tucker Carlson,
Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson was the only person that was correct on Ukraine. We've heard it here. We've heard it here. Tucker Carlson was the only person that was correct on Ukraine. The only voice that was correct on Ukraine and on Volodymyr Zelensky since day one. I don't think this requires any further commentary, to be quite honest with you. I don't think there's anything to add here. This is just an embarrassing statement to make. Like, this is one of the most embarrassing statements to date. That Tucker Carlson... This is so embarrassing. Especially after the whole Putin interview. And him talking about how Russian stores are so nice and cheap. And how you have these carts when you put a coin.
Take it away, man. This is the guy who nailed this little rat to the wall.
Tucker Carlson nailed it. Oh my god. I'm gonna have a fun time creating a thumbnail and title for this one. I'm gonna have a field day creating the thumbnail and title for this video. Oh boy. He nailed it.
First time he saw him. Listen to Tucker.
The media,
Listen to Tucker. This guy's a big Tucker Carlson fan, huh? This is so embarrassing. Wow. This is so embarrassing.
Congress, the White House, they all love this weird little guy called Sam Bankman-Fried. Do you remember that? Somehow we were reminded of it today when the president of Ukraine arrived at the White House dressed like the manager of a strip club and started to demand money.
Oh, that's why the whole strip club thing, because Tucker Carlson said it. Demanding money, huh?
Amazingly, no one threw him out. Instead, they did whatever he wanted. American taxpayers declared Joe Biden will continue to give Zelensky whatever he demands for, quote, as long as it takes.
This is framed as having nailed the conflict. Oh, there's this... I'm not even going to get into the fact that this borders on anti-Semitism, but what? This is nailing it? This is nailing it.
Tellingly, Biden never specified what it is, as long as it takes to do what?
To win, you idiot! To win, to push back the Russians. Another person that has no clue about the conflict, by the way.
Push the Russian army back to pre-invasion borders?
Yes!
Sounds reasonable. That's what most Americans likely assume, those who are still paying attention.
Oh, still paying attention. So what is the real goal? What is the real goal, Tucker?
But that is not what Zelensky means, and it is not...
Oh, so what does he mean? What does Zelensky really mean?
what he is asking for.
What is he asking for?
Zelensky is demanding regime change in Russia.
Okay, I'm pretty familiar with Zelensky's peace formula, and it does not include a regime change in Russia, even though, yeah, there should be a regime change in Russia. I'm gonna be the person to say it. Yeah, there should be a change in Russia. Desperately needs a change. But that's neither here nor there, because Zelensky has not put a quote-unquote regime change in Russia as part of his peace formula.
Just like in Iraq and Libya and a long list of other failed states, except this time in the heart of the Eurasian landmass, next door to the entire civilized world. That's what Zelensky has called for repeatedly, and every dollar we send to him goes toward that end.
For sure.
And at this point, he's getting a lot closer to achieving it. So what happens if he, quote, wins? What does the ensuing chaos look like? Thought about that?
Yeah, that is what Benny calls nailing it. This nonsense, basically. This nonsense based in nothing.
Who's going to secure the world's largest nuclear arsenal once we help Zelensky topple the Russian government?
Yeah, Ukraine should just be allowed to lose, because otherwise, this is like a conspiracy theory, basically.
Who replaces Putin? Strangely, those topics did not come up today, because that wasn't the point. The point of today's visit to Washington was not to make the world more stable or make wise decisions, much less to help America. That's always at the bottom of the list. The point was to fawn over the Ukrainian strip club manager and hand him billions more dollars from our own crumbling economy. It is hard, in fact, it may be impossible to imagine a more humiliating...
It is so ridiculous to say that this is nailing the topic, while all of this is just a ramble based on nothing. Like, show me the point in the Ukraine peace plan that has a regime change in it.
Scenario for
in
the
Russia.
Greatest country on earth. And we would love to blame Joe Biden for it, but we can't really, not entirely at least. This was bipartisan masochism. The Uniparty is alive and well, despite the best efforts of voters, including last month. And if you doubt that it's alive and well, here's a picture of Zelensky that he had taken with a group of elderly Republican senators in Kiev back in May. They stand grinning.
Oh no, that's horrible. There are Republicans that are supporting Ukraine in its fight for independence from Russia. That is so bad.
To him in their orthopedic shoes, 70-year-old Susan Collins, John Barrasso, John Cornyn, led by their 80-year-old ringleader, Mitch McConnell.
Ringleader.
44-year-old Zelensky poses between them in a skin-tight polo shirt, flexing like a weightlifter and trying to look ferocious. They seem awestruck.
Yeah, that's what a powerful way to end this video, Benny. Wow, you showed us, like, Tucker sure nailed it. Tucker sure nailed it. That's perfect. That's great. Wow. What a powerful message. What a powerful, powerful message. Oh, well. I guess I've been streaming for about 4 hours now. We've had a lot of fun tonight. We've had a lot of laughs. We've had a lot of facepalm moments, to be quite honest with you. And now it's time to say goodnight. It's time to say goodbye. It's time to tell you that I really appreciate all of you being here. I really appreciate you choosing to come to this little stream by this little creator. And I hope to see you next time. Maybe tomorrow or on Sunday we're going to be doing a video game stream. I've been thinking of concentrating on focusing on video games on the weekends. So if you like this idea, then come over and spend some time with Lucy. I'll be seeing you. Thank you once again for being here. And loads of hugs to all of you. Thank you, Aris. I'll see you. Bye-bye.